for your mental health, able to chat to other men about things that are bothering you or just have a natter.
The club meets apparently at an Essex pub at 8 o'clock every Sunday, so they should be meeting now. We've sent our reporter down there to see what it's all about.
Yes.
She's GBNews reporter Bethany Elsey, and I think she's there. Bethany, a very good morning to you. What's going on?
Good morning to you both. Good morning to you both. Anne, you're absolutely right. Dozens of people have turned out here in Brentwood for this countryside walk to support men's mental health. It is, of course, all set up by the famous entrepreneur Thomas Skinner, who joins me now.
And my lovely mate Rob.
and Rob Heisey, who is a therapist. Thank you both for joining us. Thomas, why have you set up this event?
I just feel like, look, listen, like, us blokes don't talk to each other enough. We're always going to work, grafting, looking after the family, but we never talk about us, never look after us. And there ain't nothing out there really around this way for people to sit down, have a little chat, have a cup of tea, enjoy the countryside. Just blokes supporting blokes, that's all it's about, you know what I mean? Nice and early Sunday morning, before you do your bits and pieces, and we can relax.
And Thomas, it's the second event of its kind. The first was last Sunday. You had about 80 people turn out now. There's dozens more here today. It's a real sense of community here. Yeah,
do you know what's lovely is shaking everyone's hand so far this morning. People that come from all over, not just from around here. People that come from Bethnal Green, people that come from Dartford. One guy's come from Canterbury, and obviously all the locals turn up too. We've got just over 80 people. I think we're going to get more than 100 today, and look, hopefully it grows. The more, the merrier. Yeah, all we just want to look after each other, put our arms around each other, and have a nice walk, and just say, you know what, it's all right.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good morning, 9:30 on Thursday the 15th of January, live across the UK, Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
But I must declare today that the Chief Constable of West Midlands Police no longer has my confidence.
An extraordinary showdown is unfolding between the Home Secretary and the defiant West Midlands Chief Constable, who refuses to quit, despite admitting he lied to block Israeli football fans from attending a match. So just how much longer can he hang on?
And why aren't they protesting in the streets about this? 4 million voters will be shut out of May's local elections as Labour has cancelled dozens of council votes because they're running scared from the electorate, from reform more like, using an obscure loophole to dodge the ballot box because of some local government reorganisation. Health Secretary Wes Streeting insisted that's not the case.
And councils that are choosing not to go ahead with election and setting out why to their own communities come from a range of political parties as well. So this isn't a party political thing.
Down the hatches in Tehran, shutting its embassy as fears mount of an imminent US strike on the Iranian regime. This, of course, is after that regime blinked at the last minute and halted executions of anti-government protesters.
Been notified and pretty strongly, but we'll find out what that all means. But we've been told that the killing in Iran is stopping, and it's stopped, and it's stopping.
Elon Musk's free speech experiment has hit an iceberg with X, which used to be Twitter, forced to rein in its Grok AI after outrage erupted over the tool's ability to digitally undress real people.
Well, this comes as Sir Keir Starmer looks to introduce state-mandated surveillance for anyone with a smartphone, or rather through their messaging apps.
National Pothole Day today, a grimly appropriate moment for campaigners to remind ministers of the £17 billion crater in Britain's road repair bill.
And breaking news in the last few minutes, a SpaceX capsule has been forced to carry out an emergency return to Earth after an undisclosed serious medical condition afflicting one of the 4 astronauts on board. Well, 4 million people are set to lose their vote this May as numerous councils are cancelling elections.
I think there should be outrage over this, honestly. Look, it's a con by Labour. They're claiming it's because various councils are being organised and so in a year's time it'll be a different council. Give people the vote and then let's have so they can have their councillors. The last time they stopped this, they banned votes was during COVID and foot and mouth, national emergencies, people couldn't travel easily, that was legitimate. This is a complete abuse and it's because they're running scared of reform. And the Tories should hang their head in shame too, because at least 2 major Tory councils in Sussex have chosen not to hold elections because they fear reform.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that Kemi Badenoch hasn't told them that they have to press ahead with the elections, because yes, they may lose, but it is a terrible look for democracy.
Terrible.
And I think if this was being done in a European country that we claim is far right or something like that,
we'd go banana republic.
Exactly, we'd say send in the democracy inspectors. But because this is being done by a socialist government, apparently it's legitimate.
It's a measure of how out of love people are with government, that they simply don't care enough to protest. But you should, because your local council is hugely important. It's your refuse, it's your street lights, your libraries, potholes. But also, it's your right to have a vote, and they should come round every year, every 2 years.
But only around 30%, sometimes fewer, of people vote in local elections anyway. So, like you say, maybe there just isn't the interest in local democracy, unfortunately.
Well, there ought to be. So let us know what you think. Are we wasting? Are we right to be so indignant? Do you know where to go? You visit
gbnews.com/yoursay. But first, here's your 60-second news update with Sam Francis.
Very good morning to you from the newsroom. At the top story this hour, well, a police chief is fighting for his job after admitting an AI hallucination was used to justify banning Israeli football fans from travelling to Birmingham. The Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, says she's lost confidence in Craig Guildford, and West Streeting says his refusal to resign is now a stain on his character. South East Water is under investigation after tens of thousands of homes across Kent and Sussex were left without water for days. Storm Goretti caused power cuts and burst pipes, but regulators are now asking, did the company do enough, as thousands lost their supply again today? The UK economy grew by 0.3% in November, helped by services and a rebound in factory output. But construction slumped and growth over 3 months is just 0.1%, with fears of tax rises still freezing spending. Russia has expelled a British diplomat accusing them of spying for UK intelligence. The unnamed official has 2 weeks to leave, as Moscow warns it will respond decisively if Britain escalates. And Donald Trump says he's been told the killing in Iran has stopped, but won't rule out military action. More than 2,400 people are believed dead as the US and UK pull staff from embassies and military sites across the region. And Elon Musk's X has blocked its AI tool Grok from undressing images of real people where it's illegal. The move follows global outrage and a criminal probe in California into sexualized AI images of women and children. Those are the latest headlines. I'll be back with you for a full roundup at 10.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB Digital Radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Hello, good morning and welcome. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates. Now, the West Midlands Police Chief Constable is in a spot of bother, Andrew.
How is he still in his job? He is the clown who is responsible for banning Maccabi Tel Aviv fans from that football match with Aston Villa last year. He's still refusing to quit, even though there was a series of lies and misleading and a scathing report by the Inspector of Police, which effectively says he misled the people of Birmingham, the West Midlands, and also a select committee of MPs.
And one of the bits of information to emerge yesterday was that in the report that he used to justify banning Israeli fans from the match, there was a reference to a fictitious match, a match that never happened between Maccabi Tel Aviv and West Ham, that the Microsoft AI tool had inserted into the report, and nobody had noticed that this wasn't a real match. So catalogue of errors, really, and as a result of that, support is melting away. Also, political support. The Home Secretary and the Health Secretary both have had things to say about Craig Guildford.
I don't expect people in public office or in public service to be infallible. I don't expect them to be perfect. I do expect them to be honest, and I do expect them to uphold high standards, and I do expect them, when they've fallen so woefully short, to do the right thing and resign. And I am shocked he is still in post today. I would be surprised if he's still in post by the end of the day.
Well, I'd be astonished. I thought he'd go yesterday. He's shameless. He's got no shame whatsoever. He's clinging on for dear life because he wants to keep his pension, of course, and he's a very well-paid public servant. But he's being propped up by the Police and Crime Commissioner of the West Midlands, a man called Simon Foster. Now, Simon Foster has been very supportive of the West Midlands Muslim community. As Police and Crime Commissioner, you'd expect him to be supportive of all aspects of the community. But I think his politics is quite interesting. He's a Corbynite member of the Labour Party. He was actually a member of Momentum, which was the organisation set up to keep Jeremy Corbyn, who I think was a Marxist, in charge of the Labour Party, and it campaigned for him and his values. So that's where his politics are from. And I'm afraid the Police and Crime Commissioner is on the side of the Muslim community in this, and not on the side of the right, because what happened here is this sent a message to the world that Jewish fans were not welcome into our second city at a football match played by one of our most important football clubs, Aston Villa.
It has called into question the political independence of the police, and I think it has emphasised the Labour government is right to get rid of the police and crime commissioners, because if you have a political figure in charge of a local police force, and that political figure, of course, is not independent, that's the point of politics, then you have these problems. So I think, actually, if nothing else, this whole debacle has shown that it's right to get rid of the police and crime commissioners, and that the chief constable should come under the control of the Home Secretary, who is at least there to serve the whole country.
But I also think, Miriam, this is another example of where the police are too concerned about offending ethnic sensibilities, not Jewish sensibilities. Don't worry about them. Don't worry that Jewish people can't go to this match. But ethnic sensibilities, because we just think about the grooming gang scandal in various towns throughout Britain, most of them run by Labour, where the police turned a blind eye to what was going on by gangs predominantly of Pakistani origin men. Yet again, who polices Britain? Is it noisy members of the ethnic community, or is it the police? I'm beginning to wonder.
Indeed, and some people have compared the current situation more to a kind of colonial rule where the police's job is just to try and keep the peace between different groups rather than upholding the law without fear or favour, which doesn't seem to be what's happening in this case. Well, we're now joined by the Vice-Chairman of West Midlands Friends of Israel, Keith Rowe. Keith, good morning. Thank you so much for joining the programme. Now, there are so many different disturbing aspects to this story, but at the heart of it, Jewish people, Israeli fans, were not allowed to visit Birmingham. How does that make you feel in your role as Friends of Israel?
It makes everybody within the Jewish community and every friend of Israel fearful for themselves. There has been a huge rise in anti-Semitism across the whole country. It hasn't been policed, it hasn't been stopped, and this is just one. The more you allow different things to happen, there is a progression, and it goes from hate marches to attacks to somebody being killed in a synagogue in Manchester. It is emboldenment of those who wish to do the Jewish community harm. But it goes a lot wider than this, because this whole debacle has exposed such rot within the police in the West Midlands that whatever case you're being tried for, you must now think, hang on, has the evidence against me been made up? Has it been made up by AI, by the police, who have their own agenda? And it really puts the whole policing aspect of this country into a different league. It needs some serious reconstruction.
I think it's staggering. It staggered me to read in the report that part of the case for why these Jewish fans were not allowed to come to Birmingham to watch Aston Villa was based on the fact that they behaved so abominably at a West Ham match in Britain, and then last year or the year before. The West Ham match never happened. It was a fiction. It was a creation of AI, and that was central to this clown who was the Chief Constable's case for saying these Jewish Maccabi fans cannot come to Birmingham. He's still in his job because the Police and Crime Commissioner is clinging on to him. He should resign too.
He should resign too. He's the reason, the only reason really, that the Chief Constable is still in his position. They're obviously good buddies. They don't want to let each other down. He's making excuses about going to some other committee, but everybody knows that the police chief and his assistant and those behind him have made up evidence. They've lied. They've lied to not only to the public, but to House of Commons committees. And here in Birmingham, you think, well, who actually is in charge? Who is running the streets here? Is it the mob or is it the police? And who is keeping the peace? Because if the mob are telling the police, make up some evidence so that because we don't want a Jewish stroke Israeli team coming to Birmingham, and they're saying, yes, sir, we'll do that for you because we think, you know, that's a jolly good thing to do. Where does that leave every citizen of this country? It is incredibly worrying.
It's very worrying. I feel Birmingham is getting a rough time of it because, not least, you've still got this blimmin' BIM strike, which has been going on for over a year, on the watch of the biggest local authority in Europe, on Labour's watch too. What's going on in that place?
Well, the Birmingham Council is a mess. The one good thing that John Cotton, the leader, has come out and done is he's called for the resignation of the Chief Constable.
Oh,
but
good.
The council is a mess. Of course, they've made the council bankrupt. The bins have been on strike. We have various teaching things on strike. The roads are full of potholes. The city isn't being administered properly. And this is just one more thing on top of it. And it really just... the only thing they haven't done yet, and I put a yet in there, is they haven't tried to stop the local elections taking place in May in Birmingham. As far as we know, they're still going ahead.
Don't speak too soon.
Don't speak too soon. They'll try it.
Well, Keith Rowe from West Midlands Friends of Israel, thank you so much for your comments this morning. And what a picture of dysfunction he's painted in Birmingham.
But how significant, though, that even the leader of the council now is saying the Chief Constable has to go, but that the Police and Crime Commissioner, Simon Foster, who's got such a limited mandate, clinging on to him, they both have to resign, in my view.
Well, they're tenacious, I'll give them that. Well, still ahead, it's National Pothole Day.
Of course it is.
Campaigners are reminding ministers of the £17 billion crater in Britain's road repair bill.
But up next, Elon Musk's X is forced to rein in its Grok AI bot. We'll explain what a bot is. We'll find out what that all means next. But first, if you want to know about Holiday Sun, here it is.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Through the rest of the week and into the weekend, there's some pretty unsettled weather spreading its way eastwards across the Mediterranean. As we go through tomorrow, there'll be rain, even some hill snow pushing through Portugal and Spain, also some heavy bursts of rain across southern France. All of that is going to make its way eastwards, and so although there's some dry, at times bright weather around at the moment, as we go into the weekend, we're in for some heavy thundery rain and also some strong gusty winds leading to rough sea.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GBNews Travel Destinations Forecast.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
We can allow.
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
The University of Bristol has been threatened with legal action by a leading academic who led a recent government review into sex and gender data collection.
Well, Professor Alice Sullivan claims her freedom of speech was restricted after a talk she gave was disrupted by a trans rights protest.
Protesters actually scaled the walls of the building. We were in a first-floor lecture theatre, and they climbed the walls in order to bang on the windows and sort of howl through the windows. It felt incredibly surreal in there. It was like some kind of zombie apocalypse.
What was it, Alice, that these students objected to? So you have recently led this government review, and all you've said, as far as I can see, very rightly, is that police should be recording and the NHS should be recording people's biological sex rather than their gender identity. And you have very good reason for saying that, which is that cancer referrals have been missed and crimes have been misrecorded because of this idea of gender identity. Is that really what these students object to, or have you said anything else that they might object to?
No, and it is extraordinary. I have literally argued that we should collect data on sex and we should also collect data on transgender identities as well. It's not a zero-sum game. We need accurate data on all groups in order to serve the needs and the human rights of all groups. It's all I've ever said. And I can only imagine that had these protesters actually come in and listened to my talk, they might have been surprised, because I really don't know what they thought I was saying. Obviously, from the perspective of someone outside the room banging on the window, they have no idea what I'm saying.
It's absolutely extraordinary. I mean, very good. This is why people need to come in and listen.
GB News, the People's Channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Yeah. Good morning. It is 11 minutes to 10. You're watching, listening to Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Elon Musk, you know who he is, that bully, that very wealthy man in America.
He'll sue you, Andrew.
Well, I don't think he'll bother with
I'd like
me.
to see him try.
We'll have a good fight. His free speech experiment is an iceberg because X, which used to be Twitter, has to rein in its keep up with me, Grok AI, because people were very cross that this Grok AI can digitally undress real people, and has done, and it's been shown to me how people do it.
Well, the climb down marks a rare victory for Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer after the government said it would bring into force a law making the creation of these non-consensual images illegal.
Well, someone going to explain all this, especially to me, is our tech editor, GB News tech editor, Aaron Brown. Aaron, look, start from scratch. What is an AI bot? What is it?
So an AI bot is a way of communicating with one of these large language models, or LLMs. So these are these vast models that have absorbed a load of information from the internet and learned word association and things like that, so it can put together a pretty convincing answer, analyse information for you. So the chatbot element is you interacting with these vast databases, kind of thing.
So sometimes I might try and organise my theatre tickets and I'm struggling, and some comes up on the side and says, "Can I help?"
Yeah. Yes.
And I always think, clear off.
Yep.
But actually...
So what you're telling to clear off there is probably an AI bot. Exactly, yes.
So they won't be offended by your
So they won't be offended. Say things like, "Get lost, I'm struggling as it is." But they are there to help.
Yes,
right.
exactly.
So that's the start.
ChatGPT is another really high-profile example, another one of these AI bots. But Grok is one that's owned by XAI, which is the parent company that Elon Musk runs, that owns X, formerly Twitter, and Grok as the AI model. So, yeah, it's been around for a few years now. The AI element, the AI bot element, launched in late 2023, and then it gained the ability to edit images or generate new images last year, or 2 years ago now.
Well, how could anybody think that was a commercially viable... Well, perhaps it was commercially
Very
viable.
commercially viable.
Very commercially viable. How could anybody think that is a respectable, acceptable thing to do, to have a gadget that can... if I ask it to undress you, it can?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the Grok's image generation ability has been controversial since the moment it launched.
Right.
You know, even in summer 2024, in those early days, there was issues around copyright. You could ask it for images of Mickey Mouse, Taylor Swift, you know, people whose images and generate never before seen pictures of these copyrighted properties, like Mickey Mouse, in new situations, things like that. So the Disney Corporation, within weeks was saying they were looking into it. And then, most recently we've seen all this stuff around nudity, which is primarily based around people uploading pictures of real people and then asking them to modify the images. So it's different in that it's not generating something completely new, it's editing an existing image. And there are various tricks that people have used,
so it makes an assumption of what someone will look like with their clothes on.
Exactly, yeah. So one of the examples that people were using, because X has had policies stopping people doing this sort of thing in the past, but people were getting around those by uploading a picture of someone in a bikini, for example, and saying, make this bikini transparent and things like that. So then what the AI is doing is then, based on that knowledge from all of the content that it's absorbed from the internet, making assumptions.
So how did Starmer win this battle? Did he threaten to come out of X? The government to come out of X or ban it?
So Ofcom is still launching an investigation into X, but it's one of a number of different territories. California has said they're looking into this based around child abuse images that are generated by AI. There's a lot of pressure, and also from commercial partners for X itself.
Because the key point here is that other AI image generators do have limits on them to stop users from creating these kind of images, but Elon Musk was refusing to put that limitation on his own.
Because of free speech.
Exactly, yeah.
Free speech or making a lot of money. Now, there's been a big political battle over this. There are a lot of people who equate any regulation of the internet with free speech crackdown. What's your personal view on that?
I think, as Andrew said, these are incredibly powerful tools, and left unchecked, we've seen the results that happen. What people are capable of generating. So I think some guardrails are probably necessary. Whether that's down to the companies themselves or the governments is something we're figuring out at the moment. Yeah.
Well, you've explained that brilliantly.
Fascinating stuff, yes. Thanks, Aaron.
I know so much more. I should be far more respectful next time that question pops up and says, can I help? I won't say get stuffed.
Just don't answer. Well, still ahead, Britain is battening down the hatches in Tehran, shutting its embassy as fears mount of an imminent US strike on the regime. This is Britain's Newsroom, Britain's favourite morning show on GB News.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning, I'm here with your GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. It's pretty wet, also quite windy across many southern, southeastern parts through today. Meanwhile, further north and west, actually largely dry, some decent bright sunny weather around, just some showers pushing into parts of Scotland, some of these falling as sleet or snow over higher ground. Heavy rain though across southern, southeastern parts of England, pushing into parts of Wales as well. We do have a warning out because rainfall totals are going to be building up, 20 to 30 millimetres quite widely, 40 to 50 millimetres in some places. Actually relatively mild, temperatures near normal under the rain towards the southeast, markedly fresher, colder towards the north, temperatures here a few degrees below average for the time of year. That wet weather is pushing its way towards the east and northeast, so starting to clear away as we head towards the evening. Nonetheless, a wet end to the day across parts of the East Midlands and East Anglia as well. Drier and clearer further north and west, a few showers pushing into parts of Northern Ireland perhaps, but more showers across parts of northern and western Scotland, and still these could be a bit of a wintry mix. Elsewhere, there will be some dry, clear weather around as we go through the end of the day and overnight as that system clears away towards the east. With those clear skies developing, I am expecting some frost to develop, particularly across parts of the north and east of the UK, and also a few pockets of mist and fog here and there, but a few showers towards the west with some blustery winds. Temperatures dropping widely close to freezing, a few places, yes, dropping a little bit below, which is why there will be some frost around, particularly across some parts of Scotland. Through Friday, we have blustery, showery weather across the southwest in particular. The showers could be heavy, there could be some thunder and lightning mixed in, even a bit of hail. Fewer showers elsewhere, greater chance of seeing some sunshine breaking out, but for all a bit of a chilly day, especially towards the north. Further south, temperatures just about getting into double figures, and then a lot of fog this weekend.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News every week.
You're not only watching and listening to our programmes, you're becoming part of them too.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. On the M62 westbound, congestion is heavy between junction 20 and junction 18, with delays of around 40 minutes. On the A1M southbound, a road traffic collision between junction 9 and junction 8 has one lane closed, causing delays of about 50 minutes. There are also 2 lanes restricted northbound on an unspecified route, so allow extra time. And on the trains, cross-country has disruption between Melton Mowbray and Leicester and between Chesterfield and Derby, while East Midlands Railway is disrupted between Loughborough and Leicester and between Chesterfield and Derby. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
There's just 3 weeks left to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date. An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to make 2026 the year of yes. That's yes to holidays, yes to treats, yes to making all of those dreams come true this year. Just make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock on Thursday the 15th of January. We're live across the United Kingdom. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
That I must declare today that the Chief Constable of West Midlands Police no longer has my confidence.
Extraordinary, isn't it? The drama that's unfolding between the Home Secretary and the Cabinet over the defiant West Midlands Chief Constable who refuses to quit despite admitting he lied to block Israeli football fans from attending a match in Birmingham. How much longer can he hang on? And what of the role of the Labour Police and Crime Commissioner who's clinging on to him?
Well, elsewhere, 4 million voters face being shut out of May's local elections as Labour have cancelled dozens of council votes. They're being accused of running scared from the electorate and Reform UK, and they're using an obscure legal loophole to dodge the ballot box. Health Secretary Wes Streeting, though, insisted that that wasn't the case.
And councils that are choosing not to go ahead with election and setting out why to their own communities come from a range of political parties as well. So this isn't a party political thing.
Crunch day today for those 25 councils across the south of England which may or may not have local elections delayed. Is it all really just about saving the taxpayer money, as Labour have suggested, or are there political reasons at play too? Find out more with me very soon.
And in Iran, Britain is shutting down its embassy in Tehran as fears continue to grow of a US strike. This is after the regime blinked at the last minute and tells us it halted executions of anti-government protesters.
Been notified and pretty strongly, but we'll find out what that all means. But we've been told that the killing in Iran is stopping, and it's stopped, and it's stopping.
And Elon Musk's free speech experiment has hit another iceberg, with X forced to rein in its Grok AI after outrage erupted over the tool's ability to digitally undress real people. Well, that's as Sir Keir Starmer looks to introduce state-mandated surveillance of messaging apps for people with smartphones.
And guess what? It's National Pothole Day today, a grimly appropriate moment for campaigners to remind ministers of the £17 billion crater in Britain's road repair bill.
Well, with the AA reporting that over 600,000 pothole incidents were in the UK all around last year, the Pothole Partnership and JCB are calling for a 5-year warranty on every pothole repair. We'll be live in Staffordshire this hour.
There's a report in one of the papers today saying the problem with potholes is councils don't repair them properly. They do a quick fix, which means in 2 years' time, or maybe 3 years' time, the pothole's back, which is why so many of us, near where you live or the road you use all the time, think, how can that pothole be back so soon? Because they're doing it on the cheap, they're not doing it properly.
And I think last year there were record numbers of people suing local councils when their vehicles were damaged. I think there are 11 million potholes in Britain.
Incredible.
So if each pothole was adopted by 6 people, we could all just fill it in. Why don't we have some big national pothole day? Why don't we go out there and fill them in?
And remember, good old Rod Stewart, Sir Rod Stewart, got so fed up with the potholes near his place, near Epping Forest, he fixed it himself with some mates and probably did a better job than the council.
Probably. The problem here, though, is that council budgets are so stretched by adult social care and children's special needs funding that the things they don't legally have to do go out the window.
But the government has provided additional money. They said that in the first budget. Remember that first budget, Rachel Reeve's first budget?
I don't think any of it is still in play.
No, and has any of the money gone to the councils? Well, we'll try and find out.
Well, we'd love to know what you think. Let us know about the pothole situation in your area. Send your views and comments to
gbnews.com/you'll say. But first, here is the news with Sam Francis.
Andrew, Miriam, thank you very much and good morning to you. Just coming up to 5 minutes past 10. Well, the top story this hour, the Chief Constable of West Midlands Police is under intense pressure this morning after a watchdog found a major policing decision was based on false and AI-generated intelligence. Craig Guilford admitted that AI-generated hallucination was used to justify banning Israeli football fans from travelling to Birmingham for an Aston Villa match. A game police said was high risk, even though the evidence never existed. The Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood has now lost confidence in him, and the Health Secretary Wes Streeting told us earlier Craig Guilford should already have gone, calling his refusal to resign a stain on his character.
I don't expect people in public office or in public service to be infallible. I don't expect them to be perfect. I do expect them to be honest, and I do expect them to uphold high standards, and I do expect them, when they've fallen so woefully short, to do the right thing and resign. And I am shocked he is still in post today. I would be surprised if he's still in post by the end of the day.
South East Water is now being investigated by the regulator after tens of thousands of homes across Kent and Sussex were left without running water for days. The watchdog Ofwat was ordered by the government to review the company's licence after some customers were without supply for up to 6 days. More than 23,000 properties were still affected when a major incident declared. Supplies have now been restored to around 16,000 homes, but thousands more have lost water yet again today. The outages were triggered by Storm Goretti, which caused power cuts and burst pipes across the network. But regulators are now asking whether South East Water did enough to support customers. The UK economy grew by 0.3% in November, according to new official figures, a modest but welcome boost as households and businesses awaited the budget. The Office for National Statistics says services led the recovery, even as construction suffered its sharpest downturn in nearly 3 years. Factory output, meanwhile, well, it also helped, improving as Jaguar Land Rover restarted production after a cyber attack in August. But overall growth across the past 3 months came in at just 0.1%, with economists saying spending had been frozen by fears of tax rises. Russia has expelled a British diplomat accusing them of being a spy. Moscow says it uncovered evidence linking a staff member at the UK embassy to British intelligence and summoned Britain's top diplomat in Russia to lodge a strong protest. The unnamed official has been given 2 weeks to leave the country, with the Kremlin warning it will respond decisively if Britain escalates the situation. The move is the latest in a series of tit-for-tat expulsions between London and Moscow since the war in Ukraine began. Well, we have just heard from UK government spokesperson via the Reuters news agency saying that this targeting of British diplomats by Russia comes out of desperation, they say, and that actions by Russia like this undermine the basic conditions required for diplomatic missions to operate, and adding in this statement that the UK government will carefully consider options in response to this British diplomat being expelled from Moscow under accusations that they are a spy. Turning to news in the United States, where President Donald Trump says he's been told the killing in Iran has now stopped, but is refusing at this stage to rule out military action over the regime's violent crackdown on protesters. More than 2,400 people are believed to have been killed, as Mr. Trump's claiming he's received very important intelligence that executions are being halted. Well, the US and the UK have begun pulling staff from military and diplomatic sites in the region, including in Qatar and Tehran, as flights are rerouted and embassies have shut their doors. And social media platform X has been forced to restrict its AI chatbot, known as Grok, after it was found to be generating sexualised images, including of children, triggering a UK regulator investigation. Ofcom says it welcomes the new limits, but still demanding answers on how the system was allowed to go badly wrong. Technology Secretary Liz Kendall says she won't rest until all platforms meet their legal duties, while the Prime Minister called Grok disgusting and shameful. Downing Street's added that Elon Musk's climb down over Grok is a validation for Sir Keir Starmer. And 4 astronauts have safely returned to Earth this morning after leaving the International Space Station a month early because of a medical emergency on board. NASA says one crew member became ill, forcing the mission to be cut short, though the agency says they are now in a stable condition. The 4 astronauts, 2 from America, 1 from Japan, another from Russia, splashed down off the coast of California earlier after more than 4 months in orbit. They had been due to stay on the station for another month, circling Earth at 16 times a day, nearly 18,000 miles an hour, would you believe? It is the first medical evacuation in the ISS's 26-year history, leaving just 3 astronauts still in orbit until new arrivals reach the station in February. Those are the latest headlines. I'll be back with you in around 20 minutes' time. Now, though, it's back to Andrew and Miriam.
Hello, welcome back to Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Lots of text and emails?
There are lots of texts and emails coming in. Lots of discussion about the chief constable in Birmingham, who may or may not survive the day.
I can't see how he can. If the leader of the council's gone against him too.
I know. It's
the biggest local authority in Britain.
Definitely on his last stand. Well, Douglas says the quicker the chief goes, the better. Police and crime commissioners should go with him. They should be scrapped now, not in 2 years' time.
Yeah, exactly.
They're political, not
pointless
independent.
invention by the Conservatives.
I 100% agree. And such small turnout for their elections that they don't really have a mandate.
The first elections they ever had, the average turnout for Police and Crime Commission was 15%. They should have cancelled them.
Absolutely. And on the scrapping of so many local council elections, Anne says, how ridiculous, what can we do? We need to make ourselves heard somehow. We have to protest as a nation. If there were elections in July 1945, still during the Second World War, when the country was in total disarray, how can it be justified to cancel local elections now at this current time just because of government reorganisation?
I'm afraid it's a measure of how people's opinion of government in local councils has fallen so low, they don't care enough. They think it doesn't really matter.
Absolutely.
Which is a real indictment on local government, partly because so much of their power has been taken away by central government in the first place.
People see it almost as pointless now.
They're just an extension of the useless lot in Downing Street.
Well, the Labour government is set to cancel at least 27 local council elections, a big proportion. There are only 150 local authorities in the whole country, which would leave an estimated 4 million people denied the vote.
Reform and the Tories have accused the Labour Party of running scared as they make plans to launch a judicial review to force elections to go ahead. But hang on, at least two Tory councillors in Sussex, East and West Sussex, have agreed with the ban.
Yep.
Because clearly those councillors think they're going to lose their seats. Olivia Rutley knows more about this, our political correspondent. Morning.
Good morning. Well, why
aren't people protesting in the streets? Why are they waving planners and placards?
Well, I know what you mean, because
banners.
if you delay an election, it's pretty astonishing, really, because it does seem as though democracy is just being delayed. Of course, it's always expensive to have elections, but we have them anyway because that is how democracy operates. The reason being given by these local councils is that very soon the local councils are going to be amalgamated into a smaller number of bigger unitary authorities, and the risk is that you have I'm not sure if I should call it a risk, but you have these elections in 2026, and then you have to also have elections in 2027, and then in some cases 2028 as well, because you'll have the elections for local councils, then the next year those will no longer exist, so you'll have the elections for these unitary boards, and then the next year you'll have elections for local mayors. That could end up costing, the estimate, for example, for West Sussex is that could cost £9 million for the taxpayer. So that is the official reason being given, and this is why the government have given these councils the option to delay. Not every council who's being given the option to delay is delaying. Some are determined to go ahead with the elections in 2026. They have until today, the local councils who are affected by these changes, to tell government whether or not they would like the elections delayed, and then ministers will decide on whether or not that delay can go ahead. But by the sounds of it, lots of these elections are going to be delayed, as you explained.
They're running scared of reform,
They
aren't they?
But Olivia, these arguments that the government are making are completely pragmatic, cost-based, utilitarian arguments about how much elections cost to run. And of course, we should be careful about how we spend money. But in the past, and perhaps people of a more conservative point of view would have said that you can't measure the value of democracy in pounds and pence. You know, democracy should go ahead. It's far more important than the amount of money an election costs. One of the fundamental principles of Britain is that people have their say. And yet they're using cost arguments to say, oh, well, not this time.
And I've spoken to lots of MPs, actually, on both sides of the House who say very similar to you. You could also make the argument that it would be more cost-effective to have an general election every 10 years rather than every 5. But
it would be cost-effective.
Of course it would. It would be more cost-effective never to have elections at all if you're going down that route. In some cases, there would be an election now in 2026, and then there wouldn't have to be another one till 2028. So actually 2 years between elections doesn't seem that unusual. I've spoken to some people who think that this is another hangover, if you like, from during lockdown, when elections were delayed because of lockdown, because of the pandemic. And now it's seen as something which sort of can be done. It's sort of entered the public imagination that you can just delay elections for whatever reason.
And the thing is,
I think that could be part of it.
Of course, nobody likes to see money squandered, but of course I agree with Miriam, it's a democracy, what price democracy? But these figures are small beer when you consider how governments waste money every year on all sorts of balmy projects. We were talking about HS2 yesterday. How many billions have been spent on that project? And they've hardly put a shovel in the ground.
Well, exactly. And of course, it is hard not to look at the polls and think there is something political going on here, because we are expecting the local elections to be a bloodbath for Labour, also expecting it to be bad for the Conservatives. And, of course, we're expecting reform to make huge headway. So it's not surprising that Nigel Farage's party is pretty frustrated with the idea of local elections being delayed. And, of course, it does tend to be in Labour councils where delays seem to be taking place. Although, as you mentioned, there are some Conservative councils too which are talking about delays, which goes against what the Conservative Party is saying.
And Farage is doing a press conference later where I imagine he will talk about possibility of legal action to try to overturn this. I don't think he'll win, but that would be an indication.
That would be an indication, and Farage is going to push hard on this. At the moment, it does sound as though these election delays will go ahead, but perhaps we will start to see more sort of local outrage on it. It might be an issue which hasn't really cut through, as we say, in Westminster parlance yet, but perhaps when it is actually formally announced that these elections are going to be delayed,
papers,
we could see more anger.
When local newspapers had a big, passionate voice and was big sellers, that would have been front-page story for weeks. It would never have happened. They wouldn't have dared.
It's good we're talking about it here.
Absolutely, Olivia. Thank you very much. And it does make it difficult for the Conservatives to rail against this if some of their own councils are also seeking to delay. Well, don't forget that that friends of GB News can vote in today's poll. You just need to scan the QR code that you can see on the screen now or visit gbnews.com/you decide. This morning we're asking...
Should the government have powers to delay elections? It's a straightforward yes or no. Get in touch, let us know. We'll bring you those results shortly. I hope you vote the way I want you to. Am I allowed to say
Not
that?
that we're seeking to influence you at all. Well, moving on now, the British Embassy in Iran has been temporarily closed and will operate remotely after a brutal crackdown on anti-government protesters.
Comes as President Trump's claims Iran has no plans to execute protesters. I don't know how you can believe a word those mad mullahs say. Do you?
No, absolutely. Well, we're joined now by former British Army spokesman Major Mike Shearer. Major Shearer, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us. Some horrific scenes we're seeing out of Iran. Do you think the fact that Britain has chosen now to close our embassy is significant? Are we expecting some sort of intervention from the US, perhaps?
Well, let's hope, is what I would say. On the 26th of October, 2024, in the wake of Iran bombing missiles into Israel, and everybody was calling for Israel to show restraint. And I made the point at the time, restraint is not what is required with Iran. We need to escalate this to a result that gets rid of the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and his henchmen from the IRGC, the Islamic Republican Guard Corps. It is ridiculous that the United Kingdom have still not labelled and prescribed the IRGC as a terror group. They wreak havoc, quite frankly, around the world, and all sensible countries have prescribed them. It would be telling if this government could take that step now. We know, MI5 know and have said as much, that they have a whole plethora of these IRGC agents in London. But, you know, until you prescribe them, there's no reason to go and get them. So that would be a good start.
But Major Shearer, isn't that really closing the stable door after the horse has bolted? I mean, this is surely a discussion for some point, but the urgent factor now is what the West should do about the protests and the regime's crackdown. Would you support US military action, for example, to take out nuclear facilities or even boots on the ground to protect those protesting against the regime?
The answer is yes, but it just can't be brutal bombing. That could well rally the good Iranian people to the flag. It needs to be cleverly done. The United States, along with Israel, should gather in their allies from within the region and beyond. And they need to have a plan, a good carrot and stick plan with a large dose of diplomacy in order to convince on no uncertain terms that this regime has to go, and perhaps to set in place the apparatus that will allow fair and free elections so that the Iranian people can vote for themselves the type of way they wish to be governed.
And do you, just finally, Major, if America were to take some form of military action, what form would you advise them to do it in?
Well, as I say, I think look, first of all, what is Trump doing at the minute? On Monday, he said he was going to negotiate with the regime. Yeah. On Wednesday, yesterday, he was threatening tariffs and sanctions on anybody who will do business with him. He then said that he was going to come in and help the protesters. And now he seems to be rolling back on that. Now, there are a number of things that may well be going on there. Is Trump buying more time to put more military assets in the region? I don't know. Is he having second thoughts? Or indeed, is he looking for the advantage of surprise? What I would say is I would really like to have a proper conversation with his partners in the region, Saudi Arabia and others, in order to just make this regime know that it has to go, and fair elections that would follow. Look, when I say carrot and a stick, I may be understating the stick bit, but I think you will know that, you know, if the Americans were to go in hard to help the protesters and then put in place that apparatus which would be supported by the willing within the region, then I think there is a solution to this. But the end game has to be regime change and the IRGC gone.
All right.
Mike Shearer, thank you very much for your time this morning. I think the problem is, Andrew, that whenever US or its allies have gone in to an area with the purpose of regime change, the consequences have been pretty catastrophic.
Well,
it's an entirely different operation to taking out the president of Venezuela.
And we've got our own responsibility. Look, Britain and France went into Libya to make to get rid of Gaddafi. Gaddafi was a despot, but he was a despot who kept Libya in order. Libya is now a basket case.
Absolutely.
And that invasion, that military action in Libya, I think, was one of the main triggers for this mass migration that we're seeing across Africa, into Europe, to Britain. Thank you, David Cameron.
Absolutely. And there's no united opposition in Iran. It's very unclear how another administration would take charge at the moment. Well, moving on, up next, up to 30,000 homes are still without water. But big water bosses with £115,000 bonuses are refusing to resign.
Going to be going through that and more with Carol Malone and Judita De Silva. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
I think it's really a shocking statistic to hear, but it's one that we've heard a lot of in recent years, that suicide is the biggest killer of men under the age of 50. Do you think the government are doing enough to try and reduce that number?
Well, I mean, look, it's a very difficult, very touchy subject. I've lost friends to suicide, so many of us, you know, and it's devastating. It ruins families, ruins lives, and it's so sad that maybe that person did commit suicide, could be here, if there was some bit of support, someone looking out for them. So, look, I'm not pointing the blame at anyone, because life's hard, yeah, and it's only going to get tougher this year. So if anyone watching this wants to set up a little group on a Sunday, go and do it, you know. Look after your friends, look after your community. We're all there for one another. Let's all be there next year and the year after and the year after that. That's what it's all about.
And if people want to join in next week, how do they get involved?
Get yourself down to Thatcher's Arms in Brent, within Essex. Be here for 8 a.m. We're going to have for a lovely stroll to the countryside. Bring your dogs, bring your mates, whoever. Come down here. We'll shake your hands. You're all welcome. Be a lovely day.
I actually think it's a really, really brilliant idea, I have to admit. Well, a GB News reporter, Bethany, who's normally in the studio with me, but I'm sending her out to a pub, also spoke to a few other people who were at the event to see what they thought. Let's have a listen.
Things like today are really, really important, you know. A group of blokes from all walks of life having various different issues that often go unspoken, whether it's, you know, addiction or marital issues or loneliness, social isolation, anxiety, depression, all those sorts of things. You know, it's nice to be able to come down here, have a chat with a bunch of blokes about the various issues going on in their lives.
I think it's really important for men. Hearing some of the stories today, you think you're alone all week and different things, and hearing some of the stories and talking to others today that you're not, you have to have a chill out from work.
GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's 26 minutes past 10. You're watching Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates. We've got lots to get through in the papers, all those huge bonuses that water bosses are on, despite thousands of homes without water. But before that...
It's the Great British Giveaway. Your chance to become our biggest cash prize winner to date. You can have £85,000 tax-free. You have to be in the draw to make it yours. Here's how you do it.
There's just 3 weeks left to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date. An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to make 2026 the year of yes. That's yes to holidays, yes to treats, yes to making all of those dreams come true this year. What would you spend all of that cash on? 2026 could be the year you spend more time spending with an incredible £85,000 in your bank. Just make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. The winner may be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 9th of February. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, we're joined now by Carol Malone and Judita De Silva in the studio to go through today's news. Good morning, ladies.
Can I have, if we're used to shameless politicians hanging on for dear life, Malone, clinging on by their chewed-up fingernails to office because they don't want to lose the trappings of power. But I thought the Chief Constable of the West Midlands, this clown...
He's called Craig Guilford.
Yeah, I mean, he's called a clown in my book.
Yes,
I thought he'd go yesterday when the Home Secretary, to be fair, a Birmingham MP, really put the boot in and said she'd lost confidence. We've now had West Street and the Health Secretary on the media round. He's got to go. The leader of the council in Birmingham, the biggest council in Europe, he's got to go. But he's being propped up by this ludicrous police and crime commission.
A guy called Simon Foster. And the thing is, Simon Foster is the only person who can sack him. It is a ridiculous situation in this country where our Home Secretary cannot sack a useless police and crime commission. One who has lied, one who has broken every rule in the book. They can't fire him. And it's astonishing that, and Shabana Mahmood has already said that she has no confidence in him, as you just said. But it is astonishing. This man's arrogance knows no bounds. You know, he is sitting there. He knows what he's done. It's almost like he doesn't understand the severity of what he's done and the fact that he lied and lied again. I was actually just reading some extra stuff today. One of the things in this report that has been put out today by Andy Cook, who was the His Majesty's Inspector of Constabulary, he's saying that when he was talking about the Maccabi fans, he actually put out this information that one of the things he used to justify the ban on these Israeli fans was that in a match against Amsterdam, the Israeli fans were being chased by Muslim protesters and chased into canals where they were shouting, "Kill the Jews" or something.
They were calling him "Kill the Jewish cancer." Yes,
"Kill the Jewish cancer." And Guilford took that as a sign of Israeli fans...
Astonishing.
Yeah, I mean... He said that they were to blame for that in some ridiculous way.
It's astonishing, isn't it? And the bogus football match that never even existed.
Yes, yeah, and to lie about what the Dutch police told them about Maccabi fans. It is just... Stephen Pollard today called him the most contemptible man in Britain, and I think that's absolutely right. I don't know what he thinks he's gaining by hanging on.
Well, every day his pension goes up. He's on £220,000 a year.
Judita, Simon Foster, the Police and Crime Commissioner, says that he wants to see all the facts and he's not going to make a decision until, I think it's the 27th of January, when they have some sort of board meeting. But do you think he can hang on till then?
No, honestly, I don't know how he's hung on even now, but what it's really exhibiting is just how deep the corruption and stagnation of power has set in. Because if you know, you know. This is a man that has would not be inclined to do any favours to Starmer's government. By doing this and providing Craig Guilford with a kind of sense of you are indemnified, you've got a protection around you with my position, it makes the government look embarrassing. You look like you have no power. That's what I believe his motivation is. Anything to stick the knife to Starmer's government is a point score for him. This is terrifying. Imagine the Jewish community where you're in a situation that you have concrete proof that the police are manufacturing evidence to move against you. That's a terrifying place to put people in. And even when people like me who have tried to even though I cast a skeptical eye over the police, I try to give them the benefit of the doubt that they know things we don't. They're acting with a wealth of information we don't have, and they're doing so in our best interest. This goes against all of that. You cannot stay in this position because you fly in the face of other people who actually do have integrity, because now everyone's skeptical about everyone.
And Juditha, isn't it, this is more than a story about football and about fans. It's a story about the kind of country we are becoming under this appalling government. It's a story, it's about the honesty of the police. It's about two-tier policing. It's about politicians and police forces being influenced by their Muslim constituents.
And Carol, here's a very important point here. We had somebody on from the Jewish Friends of the West Midlands. The Muslim population of Birmingham, which I would argue the Chief Constable is going out of his way to defend.
17.4.
29% of the population.
It's Birmingham, but in the whole of that West Midlands county, the Muslim population is only 17.4.
But the Jewish population, the point is, it's 0.1%. So they're a tiny minority, and he says they're scared.
No, everything about this, I try to be pragmatic, and I'm never fueled by who do I feel an affinity for, who do I friends with. Just look at the actual landscape. There's no dimension of this that looks good. You failed them, you acted against them, and you should step down, because that is not your position. You should be fair without favour and protect all equally.
You've got to look at, Juditha, that multiculturalism has failed, that it's actually not possible to appease different interests when those interests do collide.
I completely disagree. Multiculturalism would not fail, and all you have to do is look at the actual people who live amongst one another. What has happened is that politicians in power have co-opted the opportunity to create factor lines that lean towards their agendas.
But you look at, say, a particular Muslim community who do not want Israeli fans to visit for all sorts of reasons, anti-Semitism, looking at the war in Gaza, which, whatever side you come down on, there are different views. That is one point of view, and it's completely incompatible with the other point of view. So how do you police it?
That's where power comes in, because even it's happening in politics as well. Everyone wants their patch, and everyone wants to assert power over their patch. The whole point about the police is that when you represent everyone equally, that kind of attitude would be addressed and would be put in place, so you know that you don't curry favour any more than any other group with the police.
I think you made an interesting point. Can I just make the point made about embarrassing Starmer's government? The Police and Crime Commissioner was a member of Momentum.
Yes.
Momentum supported Jeremy Corbyn. Jeremy Corbyn has left the Labour Party. They despise Keir Starmer. Do you think this is all about embarrassing the Labour government as well?
I'm not sure it's
propping up this useless copper.
I think this is about a useless copper thinking he's invincible because he was appointed by a guy who can't be fired. And what I would like to know is why we have a Home Secretary who cannot fire.
And she's a Birmingham MP.
Police chief. Yeah, but even if she wasn't, why can't the Home Secretary of this country fire a police chief who has done what this guy has done?
Who has lied, which is good that this has happened and so publicly embarrassing.
She has said
she's going to address that for the future.
Well, she must do, because to say you have no confidence in somebody has no effect on a man who has no principles and no integrity.
But doesn't this make the point? Thank God this Labour government has done something I agree with. They are getting rid of these police and crime commissioners. They are going.
Well, they
will be gone within a matter of years. This one needs to go now. And I think when the Chief Constable goes, which I think he will, this wretched police and crime commissioner should go with him.
Well, if he doesn't,
because it's failing.
Ladies, we are going to have to end it there. We will have time again in an hour, so please stay with us. But up next, we've got your 60-second news update with Sam Francis.
Very good morning to you from the newsroom at 10:35. The top story this hour: a police chief is fighting for his job after admitting an AI hallucination was used to justify banning Israeli football fans from travelling to Birmingham. The Home Secretary says she's lost confidence in Craig Guildford. And Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, says his refusal to resign is now a stain on his career. South East Water is under investigation after tens of thousands of homes across Kent and Sussex were left without water for days. Storm Goretti caused power cuts and burst pipes across the network. But regulators are now asking whether the company did enough, as thousands have lost supply again today. Russia has expelled a British diplomat accusing them of secretly working for UK intelligence. London says the claims are malicious and baseless, accusing the Kremlin of acting out of desperation and undermining normal diplomatic relations. Elon Musk's X has blocked its AI tool Grok from undressing images of real people where it's illegal. The move follows global outrage and a criminal probe in California into sexualized AI images of women and children. Those are the latest headlines. A full roundup with me at 11.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Well, coming up next, will government monitoring of our private phone messages really keep us safer? We'll be discussing that next. You're watching Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Good morning, I'm here with your GB News weather update coming to you from the Met Office. It's pretty wet, also quite windy across many southern, southeastern parts through today. Meanwhile, further north and west, actually largely dry, some decent bright sunny weather around, just some showers pushing into parts of Scotland, some of these falling as sleet or snow over higher ground. Heavy rain though across southern, southeastern parts of England, pushing into parts of Wales as well. We do have a warning out because rainfall totals are going to be building up, 20 to 30 millimetres quite widely, 40 to 50 millimetres in some places. Actually relatively mild, temperatures near normal under the rain towards the southeast, markedly fresher, colder towards the north, temperatures here a few degrees below average for the time of year. That wet weather is pushing its way towards the east and northeast, so starting to clear away as we head towards the evening. Nonetheless, a wet end to the day across parts of the East Midlands and East Anglia as well. Drier and clearer further north and west. A few showers pushing into parts of Northern Ireland perhaps, but more showers across parts of northern and western Scotland, and still these could be a bit of a wintry mix. Elsewhere, there will be some dry, clear weather around as we go through the end of the day and overnight as that system clears away towards the east. With those clear skies developing, I am expecting some frost to develop, particularly across parts of the north and east of the UK, and also a few pockets of mist and fog here and there, but a few showers towards the west with some blustery winds. Temperatures dropping widely close to freezing, a few places, yes, dropping a little bit below, which is why there will be some frost around, particularly across some parts of Scotland. Through Friday, we have blustery, showery weather across the southwest in particular. The showers could be heavy, there could be some thunder and lightning mixed in, even a bit of hail. Fewer showers elsewhere, greater chance of seeing some sunshine breaking out, but for all a bit of a chilly day, especially towards the north. Further south, temperatures just about getting into double figures, and then a lot of fog this weekend.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go, or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. On the M8 eastbound, the junction 6 on Slip is closed for essential roadworks, so please follow the signed diversion currently in place. In Greater Manchester, the M62 westbound between junction 20 and junction 18 is heavily congested, with delays of around 40 minutes in slow-moving traffic. In Hertfordshire, the A1M southbound between junction 9 and junction 8 has a crash, with one lane closed and delays of about 30 minutes. And on the trains, Cross Country and East Midlands Railway report disruption around Leicester and between Chesterfield and Derby, with services subject to delay and alteration. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back. 20 minutes to 11. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
So today is National Pothole Days. It's a chance to raise awareness of the problems of potholes on UK roads, and the problem is huge.
I feel like we need a pothole badge for Pothole Day.
Yeah.
No one's offered me one yet. But it comes as new figures from the AA reveal that there were over 600,000 pothole-related breakdowns in 2025. That's an average of 1,681 each day.
That is a staggering figure. Now, joining us now is GB News national reporter Jack Carson, who may be about to try and do something about it. Where's your JCB, Jack?
It's in the background.
Well, there it is. In all its glory. Look, there it is, the Pothole Pro. Unfortunately, I'm not licensed to operate that, so me in the cab beeping the horn is probably about as far as we'll be able to go today. But of course, you'll know, as everybody will know, the problem that we've got on the roads with potholes. As you were mentioning, the AA saying that more than 600,000 pothole incidents recorded in the UK last year, 1,700 per day, just shows you clearly how widespread across the country the problem is. I mean, one of them here, look, you can see just as a standard road as we are here, typical road as we are here in Staffordshire, you can see the pothole problem. And of course, it's not just the problem for for us as road users and as for people in cars as well. Of course, they pose a real danger to motorcyclists. Simon Mosley joins us now. Simon, thanks so much for being with us today. Now, you were on a motorcycle and you hit a pothole and a bad pothole repair and you fell off your motorcycle. Tell us that story.
So yeah, we was just going for a nice breakfast to the Ponderosa, heading down the A5. There was a group of us, and obviously I ended up hitting a few potholes in a row, which obviously buckled the front wheel, which caused me to come off.
And what's been the impact of that crash?
It's life-changing, to be honest. I can't do anything that I normally would. I've been told I may never ride again. It's not only impacted myself, but obviously it's impacted my daughter's life as well, because I can't do the stuff that I normally would. It's changed everything.
And all because of a pothole and a bad pothole repair. So how important, I guess, then is it that these potholes are repaired to a standard which is safe for all road users? Because a car going over that pothole wouldn't have had the same.
Yeah, in a car, it's not too bad. It might shatter your wheel. That's probably worst case scenario. Obviously, on two wheels, it's a lot worse. It can have, obviously, as it has to me, life-changing instances.
And obviously the Pothole partnership with JCB is where we are today. We're seeing how potholes can be repaired properly. I mean, the government have also brought out a system to grade how each local authority deals with potholes. Do you think that the government and local authorities are taking them seriously, given that you've been a victim of what can happen if they aren't sorted properly yourself?
I would like to think that at least out of all of this, they're at least going to start fixing the potholes properly and not bodging them, as that's the issue, is the fact that the potholes are getting bodged. They're fixing them, but when they're bodging them, obviously it's not staying, they're not actually fixing them properly, and I think that's the main issue.
Right, Simon, thank you so much for joining us this morning, of course, telling us that story of how he was riding his motorbike rather, and hit that pothole, and because of how bad the repair was, it meant that he came off his bike, and you heard there, the impact that it's now had on his life, his daughter's life, his whole family's life, because of potholes. The National Pothole Day, which is what today is, so important to raise awareness of exactly why it's important. The local authorities start to get a grip, and the government start to get a grip of this problem. Of course, they've brought out this grading system. They're offering more funding for those areas which they grade in red and in critical condition for repairing their potholes. As you were mentioning, the AA stats, more than 600,000 incidents last year. The average pothole repair for a car can be anywhere from £300 at times to well over 1,000. The Pothole Partnership, which is made up of JCB, of AA, the National Motorcyclist Council, and also British Cycling, all calling today for a 5-year warranty. So whether it's the local authority or contractors that repair potholes, they are calling for a 5-year warranty to be guaranteed to that pothole actually lasts. And of course, JCB pushing for the Pothole Pro, which we know is used in local councils now across the country to be able to repair potholes to a standard which keeps people safe. And ultimately, that is the thing, as you've heard there from Simon himself, it's been able to keep all road users safe with these potholes. But of course, with the problems and the incidents that we're seeing across the UK, with it's estimated to be more than 10-15 billion pounds if every pothole was to be repaired today. That cost to local authorities only going up every year. It's clear on National Pothole Day how much of a problem the UK is facing when it comes to its roads.
Now, Jack, this has become an increasing problem over recent years. Lots of speculation as to why that might be. Is it reduced council funding? Is it changes to the weather? Or perhaps the increase in the number of electric vehicles on the road, which are so much heavier than their petrol and diesel equivalents? Are you getting any sense of the reasons behind this growing crisis?
Well, it is. Electric cars, certainly with how heavy they are on the road, certainly puts a lot more pressure on those roads, as you can see. But it can be anything really, can't it? You know, you look at this pothole here with how deep it can be. It can be anything from debris falling off cars and just starting to impact that road, and then of course the erosion gets into it. So it is weather. But it's a combination of those factors, and that's a lethal combination, as you heard Simon saying there. But the government trying, they say, to do something about this, offering more funding for those areas that they deem to be in a critical state with their potholes, and they hope that can make roads a whole lot safer.
Jack, with all respect, that's not a pothole, that's a crater.
Yeah, it is bad. But then, of course, we're here being demonstrated today exactly how quickly, though, they can be repaired to a standard which lasts. And that's, of course, why the Pothole Partnership want that 5-year guarantee for every local authority.
Very good. All right, Jack, that's Jack Carson on the road trying to sort...
How do you take a pothole back to the shop if you're not happy with it? I'm a bit confused about this. Anyway, up next, we'll be getting all the latest on Iran as the British Embassy has shut down in Tehran.
But before then, we're going to give you the latest weather forecast for Europe. It's shivering a bit here, isn't it?
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Through the rest of the week and into the weekend, there's some pretty unsettled weather spreading its way eastwards across the Mediterranean. As we go through tomorrow, there'll be rain, even some hill snow pushing through Portugal and Spain, also some heavy bursts of rain across southern France. All of that is going to make its way eastwards, and so although there's some dry, at times bright weather around at the moment, as we go into the weekend, we're in for some heavy thundery rain and also some strong gusty winds leading to rough sea.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline.
Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the cars.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to
stop.
You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's 10 to 11. You're watching and listening to Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
British Embassy in Iran has been closed temporarily and will operate remotely after that crackdown on anti-government protests by those mad mullahs.
Well, this comes as President Trump claims that Iran has no plans to execute protesters. And we're now joined by GB News national reporter Charlie Peters. Charlie, the world is waiting for the US to act, and yet it seems now that perhaps they're having second thoughts about what they might achieve by striking Tehran.
Well, at least that's what they're telling us. I think everyone watching and listening to this now has to recognise that what we say on air is what we're being led to believe by the US military and the State Department, who are very carefully orchestrating a communication strategy to maintain maximum disorder of those they want to disrupt. What we know is what they let us know, and what they've shown us is what they want to show us. In particular, the movement of tankers around the Middle East last night, some flights moving around. There was a flurry of activity yesterday, a lot of tankers moving towards Hawaii. There's an air exercise taking place there. But because the US has such widespread capabilities that can launch from Diego Garcia, from Guam, from Missouri as well, those are long-range bombers, keeping everyone on tenterhooks is part, surely, of the US military strategy at the moment. We go back to the tanker that was seized by the US military off the coast of Britain a couple of weeks ago, well, actually last week. That was done with everyone looking at the very visible military deployments taking place in Britain, while in Iceland, they snuck in forces that could take the tanker as it moved away from the UK amid all the fuss that we were making at GB News, which clearly the Russians were watching very closely. They then started to change their course towards Iceland. I think it's possible, in fact, highly likely, that a very similar strategy is taking place right now, maintaining maximum chaos and uncertainty within the Iranian regime, not knowing how or when the Americans might strike. They could do it whenever they want. And some of the briefing that's coming out from the US right now is, I think, designed to maintain that state of uncertainty. Some officials warning that a strike could come within 24 hours, European officials, obviously anonymous briefings. We've also heard from US officials warning that they haven't got the capability to do so, which is just absolute nonsense. The US has got hundreds of Tomahawk missiles gathered in the area right now.
And also, if it stayed the hand of the executions, that's a relief. If it has. We don't know, of course, because you can't believe anything any of these people say.
Well, the Iranian foreign minister was speaking to Fox News, very much a clear communication strategy there, saying there is no plan to conduct that hanging. There would be no executions of Irfan Sultani, a 26-year-old who's been in detention for a week now, captured last Thursday, sentenced to death on Sunday. Clearly not trying to speak to any of the Arab language media about that, not speaking to Al Jazeera, not speaking to those channels, speaking to the channel which is on in the White House 24/7. Very much part of their overt attempt to quell fears about the US. For all the talk from those officials, speaking to some US media, that they're not ready to do this, they're not looking to do this, it's clear what the Iranians fear at the moment. And while we have seen a lot of movement in the Middle East and the UK seeking to withdraw its people from the airbase in Qatar, I think watch and wait. We're all being led one way when the US could move another.
Indeed. He's the master of surprise, isn't he?
Absolutely.
Not just the master of the deal.
Well, although it does remain to be seen what he's trying to achieve, regime change has not gone particularly well for the US in the past.
And remember, it's all about America first. Now, still ahead, we're going live to Fife in Scotland, where Reform UK are revealing their new leader of their party in Scotland with Nigel Farage. This is Britain's Newsroom, Britain's favourite morning show on GB News.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Now, for some, it's a very wet day today, particularly across much of England. Some gusty winds likely in places later as well. But away from the wet weather across eastern England in particular, there's a lot of fine weather to be had. Now, the rain is being caused by this little weather front. Doesn't look much, does it? But it's intensifying as an area of low pressure moves up, and that's just going to bring a very soggy day across much of the south of England, much of the Midlands. That rain spreading up into northeast England too. Parts of southeast East Wales also staying fairly dreary. West Wales, the far north of England, much of Scotland and Northern Ireland dry and bright with some sunshine, just a few heavy showers in the far northwest. Temperatures about average, feels pretty chilly with that persistent and heavy rain across the south and the east. Temperatures only 8 or 9 degrees. And the winds could really start to pick up here just for a time as we go through the evening. We do have a warning in place for that rain, a persistent nature of the rain, a lot of spray, a lot of surface water on the roads. Further north and west, we'll keep some largely clear skies into the evening, and of course this time of year, clear skies, well, it's generally going to lead to a frost. There will be some more rain showers coming into the far northwest of Scotland. This rain is going to linger through the evening rush hour for sure, and may well last well into the night across these eastern counties of England, where it's likely to stay pretty overcast. That'll help to keep the temperatures up here. A few showers coming into South Wales and southwest England. Many other areas there will be dry. Some mist and fog likely to form through the night, and as well as that frost across much of Scotland, much of Northern Ireland and Northern England, certainly in rural areas down to freezing or below, well below, particularly where there's still some snow lying on the ground. Now, Friday's a bit of a messy one, a mixture of sunshine and showers, with the showers most frequent in the west. Heavy, thundery showers possible here, particularly for the east of Northern Ireland and southwest Scotland. Many central and eastern areas, though, dry, certainly a lot drier than today over eastern England, and as a result, probably feeling just a touch milder.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's just 3 weeks left to grab your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date. An incredible £85,000 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to make 2026 the year of yes. That's yes to holidays, yes to treats, yes to making all of those dreams come true this year. Just make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win £85,000 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB18 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 30th of January. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
It's 11 o'clock on Thursday, the 15th of January, live across the UK, Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Capes.
That I must declare today that the Chief Constable of West Midlands Police no longer has my confidence.
Well, an extraordinary showdown is unfolding between the Home Secretary and the defiant West Midlands Chief Constable who refuses to quit, despite admitting he lied to block Israeli football fans from attending a match. But just how much longer can he hang on?
4 million voters could be shut out of May's local elections as Labour councils dozens of council votes. They're running scared from the electorate, or more importantly, they're running scared from Reform UK, but they're using an obscure legal loophole to dodge the ballot box, but not according to a Health Secretary, Wes Streeting.
And councils that are choosing not to go ahead with election and setting out why to their own communities come from a range of political parties as well. So this isn't a party political thing.
Well, Britain has closed its embassy in Tehran as fears mount of an imminent US strike on the regime. This, of course, is after the Ayatollah blinked at the last minute and halted the execution of anti-government protesters.
Been notified and pretty strongly, but we'll find out what that all means. But we've been told that the killing in Iran is stopping, and it's stopped, and it's stopping.
And the billionaire Elon Musk's free speech experiment has hit difficulties, with his X, which used to be called Twitter, forced to rein in its Grok AI after there was quite rightly outrage that the tool could digitally undress real people.
Well, this comes as Sir Keir Starmer looks to introduce surveillance for messaging apps on smartphones.
National Pothole Day today. Probably seen one if you were driving anywhere or walking anywhere today. It's a grimly appropriate moment because there is now a 17 billion pothole crater in Britain's road repair bill.
Potholes make me laugh, the thought of it, but they are actually so important. It is so frustrating for people when you have to avoid them or your car is damaged. And certainly when I was an MP, it was one of the biggest complaints that people had. And it seems like a minor issue, but actually it really annoys people.
And it costs councils, which means it costs you, because that's your council tax bill, thousands and thousands of pounds every month in compensation, because people are they've got to pay for the damage done to somebody's car if they go through a great pothole. There's an enormous one near where I live. They fix it every year, and every year they come back because they don't fix it properly.
Yeah, some of these roads just need resurfacing, don't they? But of course, that's even more expensive. Well, we'd love to know what you think. Send your views and comments to
gbnews.com/your say. First the news with Sam Francis.
Andrew, Miriam, thank you very much. Good morning to you. It's just after 11 o'clock. Well, the Chief Constable of West Midlands Police is under intense pressure after a watchdog found a major policing decision was based on false AI-generated intelligence. Craig Guilford admitted an AI-generated hallucination was used to justify banning Israeli football fans from travelling to Birmingham. A match police said was high risk, even though the evidence never existed. The Home Secretary has now lost confidence in him, and the Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, says he should have already gone, calling his refusal to resign a strain on his character.
I don't expect people in public office or in public service to be infallible. I don't expect them to be perfect. I do expect them to be honest, and I do expect them to uphold high standards. And I do expect them, when they've fallen so woefully short, to do the right thing and resign. And I am shocked he is still in post today. I would be surprised if he's still in post by the end of the day.
Well, let's just take you live now, in fact, to Scotland, where Nigel Farage is set to announce the new leader of the Reform UK in Scotland. I believe we can take you there now to Nigel.
Candidates for the Scottish Parliament elections who spent a whole day going through intensive media training, being asked questions, being cross-questioned, being really put through their paces, so that we could find out, which of our candidates had the best talent, which were the best at pushing our message, and we will, over the course of the next few weeks, announce what our list of candidates is going to be for the 7th of May. We feel very confident that the list of men and women we're going to put before the Scottish electorate will represent a very, very broad cross-section of working life in Scotland, people with real experience, not many professional politicians among them, I'm pleased to say, but we're very confident we're going to put forward a really great list of people. As you know, in the opinion polls, there's been some considerable shift, and I'm increasingly of the view that these elections on May the 7th will be literally a two-horse race here in Scotland between us and the SNP. And I believe that we will be seen as the main opposition because neither the Conservative Party nor Labour Party have been able to provide genuine, real coherence to much of the damage that the SNP have done to Scotland. And I think one of the reasons for that is there are quite big internal divisions that exist within those parties. We are very united in our vision. We understand what we think has gone wrong. We're also very optimistic, both at Scottish level and at UK level, that we can provide the people the answers, the solutions to perhaps give people that missing four-letter word that we're all struggling for at the moment, namely that of hope. My last visit here, I was able to introduce onto the stage a defector from the Conservative front bench in the House of Lords. And, you know, we don't have that many Lords in our party. And in a few minutes, we're going to have even fewer Lords in our party because the first thing I want to do today is go through a formal signing ceremony, which Malcolm and I will now do. Okay, I'll sign that bit, and we'll just...
Can we do this big one?
Yep.
So we're seeing there Nigel Farage with the life peer Sir Malcolm Offord, Lord Malcolm Offord, who until very recently was a significant Conservative Party donor, but he has moved to Reform a couple of months ago and now taking a significant role in Reform's Scotland operation. We're going back to Nigel Farage now.
There we are.
Best way, please, just right here for me, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Can you rotate it around just a tiny bit to us?
Yes, of course.
Perfect. This best way, please.
So Malcolm Offord is Lord Offord, but he's obviously going to suspend his title. He'll still be Lord Offord, but he will no longer serve in the House of Lords. I think that's a clear statement by Nigel Farage that he doesn't want a serving member of the House of Lords. The Reform are committed to abolishing the House of Lords as their leader in Scotland. However, if they do form the next government, they will have to flood the House of Lords with hundreds of Reform peers because otherwise they simply will not get legislation through the upper house. Currently, they've got one peer, and that's Malcolm Offord, who's effectively putting his peerage in cold storage. We're going back to Nigel Farage.
Is a club for life. Subsidised lunch, sleep on the benches all afternoon, stay there until you're 94, and he's given it all up to stand for reform in the Scottish elections, Scottish Parliament elections of 2026. A brave and principled move. And with that, I have today, my main task today, I have absolutely no hesitation as leader of Reform UK to announce that from this moment, plain Malcolm Offord is leader of Reform UK Scotland. I've appointed him leader, and he will lead this party into those elections on May the 7th. As the party builds and develops its branch network, in future, positions like this will be open to elections of the members. But we are a work in progress. Time is very short, and I'm entirely confident, firstly, that I've made the right decision, and secondly, that I will carry with me the overwhelming support of our 12,000 members in Scotland. We have an enormous amount to do over the course of the next few months. I think we could even surprise ourselves with just how many votes we managed to garner in these elections. A huge chunk of the Scottish electorate are looking for something different, and they're tired of the decline this country's seen under SNP government. So, Malcolm, you've got the job. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And his job now is very easy. All he has to do is make a success of it, or else.
Next question, please.
Yeah, of course.
This one, please.
Yeah.
Okay. Last one here, please. Thank you.
Extraordinary breaking news here. Kemi Badenoch, the Conservative Party leader, has sacked Robert Jenrick, who is her shadow Justice Secretary, tipped by many to be the next Tory leader, tipped by many to be the next Shadow Chancellor of Reform UK. There's been lots of rumours at Westminster that Jenrick was thinking of jumping ship to reform. Is that lying behind this decision by Badenoch to sack Jenrick? But this is a big, big moment in the Conservative Party.
It is huge news. Of course, we have no information at the moment about the reason for that sacking, but Robert Jenrick is one of the reasons that many people are remaining in the Conservative Party. They see him as a figure of the right, keeping the party in the right position on immigration, on the ECHR, and without his involvement on the front bench, I imagine that the Conservatives may lose even more members than they already have.
Well, we're going to talk to Olivia Utley at Westminster. Olivia, can you shed any light on this? This was completely unexpected, bolt out of the blue.
This is absolutely astonishing news, and genuinely it could possibly be the end of the Conservative Party. If Robert Jenrick goes over to reform, as seems completely inevitable now, then there will be so many Conservatives who go with him. Kemi Badenoch has tweeted out, "I have sacked Robert Jenrick from the Shadow Cabinet, removed the whip and suspended his party membership with immediate effect. I was presented with clear, irrefutable evidence that he was plotting in secret to defect in a way designed to be as damaging as possible to his Shadow Cabinet colleagues and the wider Conservative Party. The British public are tired of political psychodrama, and so am I. They saw too much of it in the last government. They're seeing too much of it in this government. I will not repeat those mistakes." Now, this is an incredibly bold statement from the leader of the Conservative Party. There have been rumours in Westminster for a long time now that Robert Jenrick was about to defect to reform. Reform themselves have been very keen to spread those rumours. I think we will hear from Robert Jenrick very, very soon indeed. He was devastated to lose that Conservative election for leader of the Conservative Party a couple of years ago. And ever since then, it's felt very much as though he is a man on manoeuvres. I've spoken to lots of people close to Robert Jenrick who right up until now, have been denying that he is planning to move over to reform, have said that he is loyal to the Conservative Party. But the whisperings have been that he would have liked to have seen the Conservative Party uniting with reform closer to the election. This has come in the most sort of spectacular, dramatic way you could possibly imagine. It's almost unprecedented for a leader of a party to tweet with such strong language, "I have sacked Robert Jenrick from the Cabinet with immediate effect." There's no pussyfooting around. There's no letter thanking him for all the work that he's done in the Shadow Cabinet. Kemi Badenoch is clearly furious with Robert Jenrick and this alleged secret plotting, and she's not afraid to tell everyone about it.
Where is Jenrick? Do we know? Did she sack him face to face? What detail do we know, Olivia?
I literally found out moments before you. It has come as a bolt of lightning out of the blue to, I think, everyone in Westminster. We don't know where he is now. I expect we'll hear from him very, very soon. Perhaps it's come as a surprise to him as well. It sounds as though the fact that he was plotting behind the scenes, as Kemi Badenoch alleges, sort of came out into the open, was leaked to Kemi Badenoch in some way before Robert Jenrick was planning to make his move, if you like. So perhaps this has come as a surprise to him as well. But I'm sure one way or another we will hear from him soon, and I will definitely bring you as many updates as I possibly can throughout the day.
Now, Olivia, of course, Kemi Badenoch cannot stop Robert Jenrick from leaving the Conservative Party, but I imagine she has attempted to steal his thunder slightly here by sacking him before he moves. But nevertheless, if he does go on to move to reform, if she's correct that the evidence is true, this is a massive loss for the Conservative Party, whether or not he's sacked or moves first.
Well, exactly. It is a huge, huge blow to the Conservative Party. For many people in the Conservative Party who were minded to move to reform, Robert Jenrick was the one person standing in the way of that move. They saw him as the man who was really, really tough on immigration. As well as that, he's a very strong social media performer. He's really active on X. He does these videos at train stations trying to stop people getting through barriers. It's all the kind of things which really appeal to reform voters, and there were lots of people who were remaining Conservatives purely because of Robert Jenrick. If he does indeed go to reform, as is now widely anticipated, I think we can see a lot of movement away from the Conservatives and towards reform.
OK, David, we'll come back to you. We've got Mrs Badenoch has made this announcement in a short video which we can share with you now.
I removed the Conservative whip from Robert Jenrick after dismissing him from the shadow cabinet. I was very sorry to be presented with clear, irrefutable evidence, not just that he was preparing to defect, but he was planning to do so in the most damaging way possible to the Conservative Party and his shadow cabinet colleagues. It is my responsibility to protect our party, and faced with that information, I took the only decision that any responsible leader could. Because the British public are tired of political psychodrama. So am I. They saw too much of it in the last government. They're seeing too much of it in this government. I will not repeat those mistakes. When I was elected leader, I committed to doing politics differently. Disloyalty and dishonesty undermine trust in politics. They're also disrespectful to our party members, our councillors, MPs, and most of all, voters. You all deserve better. Conservatives suffered a heavy defeat in 2024. That was painful, but we are rebuilding, with strong principles, clear plans, and with a serious team united around a shared purpose. When individuals choose to walk away from that effort for personal ambition, that tells you nothing about the Conservative Party and everything you need to know about them. There will be more to say, and I know a lot of commentary about this decision. But I want you all to be in no doubt. It's a time of global uncertainty. I am focused on holding the government to account, ensuring they are acting in the national interest, and that Conservatives deliver a proper plan for a stronger economy, stronger borders, and a stronger Britain.
Well, that's a very, very punchy Kemi Badenoch, the Conservative Party leader, but she has sacked her best, most successful media performer, probably the most high-profile Tory after her, Robert Jenrick, who did wear his ambition on his forehead.
Well, he stood for the leadership election. He can't hide that.
Exactly. And we all know he was terribly ambitious, and Kemi Badenoch has sort of reasserted her grip on the party in the last few months. But the rumours at Westminster have been rampant that he was about to do something or to defect. We've got Tom Harwood here. Tom, you're well plugged into the Reform UK world. She sport the big announcement, but I wonder what damage she's done to the Tory party.
Well, before we say this has been definitely a clear defection to reform, this is what we're assuming.
Yeah.
No one has said the word reform in any of the...
Probably not the Liberal Democrats.
It's unlikely to be the Liberal Democrats or the Greens, but here we go. With that health warning attached, I mean, Kemi Badenoch didn't need to say the word reform. This is the party that's been leading in the polls for the last 200-plus polls. Ever since just after the New Year last year, this has been the party that's clearly been insurgent. And I think there are two ways to look at this particular defection. Number one, this is a big blow to the Conservative Party.
Without a doubt.
A very, very active minister who, as you've been saying, has been hugely energetic in his campaigns and successful in his campaigns over the course of getting government U-turns and getting government retractions on all sorts of things. He's been an incredibly effective performer on the front bench. So it's a massive loss to the Conservative Party to have this, and to have him think that the Conservative Party is perhaps not the vehicle for him anymore. That is a big institutional blow. But there is another way to look at it, and that is, why might Robert Jenrick be thinking of defecting? When Kemi Badenoch was viewed much less favourably in the opinion polls, it was looking likely that Robert Jenrick might take over the position of leadership of the Conservative Party imminently. And at the time when the Conservative Party was still going down in the polls, Robert Jenrick's own career prospects perhaps looked better within the Conservative Party. So strangely, there is a way to view this defection that is actually, because the Conservative Party has had a slight recovery, because Kemi Badenoch's own personal ratings have been on the up, and according to some surveys in a head-to-head, actually she does better against Nigel Farage now.
Yeah.
That could be the context for this defection. A moment of weakening the Conservative Party, but strangely, because the Conservative Party was getting slightly stronger, that Robert Jenrick saw his path to the leadership as getting ever narrower. That could be one of the big instigators for this entire car crash.
And she's talked about he was going to defect in a way which was designed to do maximum damage to the Conservative Party. Now, I'm racking my brains thinking, when and how would that have been done, do you think, Tom?
Well, we do have elections that are coming up in May.
Yeah. Before the elections, possibly?
Before the elections, possibly.
Or
possibly after the start of the short campaign. I am just guessing here.
Yeah.
But if he were to come across and candidates were to come across with him, it's unlikely that
we're going to go back to Nigel Farage's press conference. He's talking about Jenrick.
Because she said there was clear evidence he was plotting to defect. Was he in talks with you to defect to Reform?
I'm very surprised that this news is broken.
Are you, though?
Well, I never reveal private conversations with anybody, which is why, you know, when people like Malcolm came to me to talk and he was a front bencher, nothing ever leaked. So I'm going to say that I've had conversations with a number of very senior Conservatives over the course of the last week, over the course of the last month, and a lot of them realise that for all the talk that Kemi's doing better at PMQs, which is true, for all the talk of a supposed Kemi bounce, I think a lot of them realise that on May the 7th, or should I say May the 8th, the Conservative Party will cease to be a national party. They will all be obliterated in Scotland, in Wales, in the Red Wall councils, if they're not all cancelled. We'll find out later on today about that. So there's a lot of people seriously considering their future. As far as Mr Jenrick's concerned, of course I've talked to Robert Jenrick. Was I on the verge of signing a document with him? No. But have we had conversations? Yes.
So he was considering leaving the Conservatives and joining Reform UK?
I think virtually every Conservative is considering leaving the Conservatives, yes.
Including Mr Jenrick?
I think that's been in his mind, yes. I've little doubt it's been in his mind. But, I mean, you know, have we signed and sealed a deal? No. And many of those that come and talk to me result in them not coming. But then I never betray confidences or say exactly who they are. But there are a lot of people in Mr Jenrick's position who don't see a viable future for the Conservative Party. I think May the 7th is going to be a very, very big day. And frankly, many who are beginning to see parallels with what happened with the Liberal Party almost exactly 100 years ago, when they went from being a natural party of government to being a very small provincial party and have stayed mostly there for the last 100 years. Thank you very much indeed. There we are, breaking news. It's all happening, isn't it? Lindsay Bewes from BBC Scotland.
Well, a very interesting response from Nigel Farage there. Clearly, completely unexpected,
yes.
The fact that this news has broken. He said that he had conversations with Robert Jenrick, but he certainly didn't think he was on the verge of moving to Reform.
I think when you consider the disaster that it is politically for the for the Tory leader, who's still at 20 points in the polls, which is hopeless, but better than it was a few months ago. The prospect of your most prominent, most effective media performer, Robert Jenrick, crossing the floor, probably going to do it with some great dramatic flourish just before the local elections, designed to wreck the Tory campaign. This was probably the best strategy she could adopt, because she has blown them out of the water.
The best strategy, but nevertheless, it's damaged imitation, because we could see now a domino effect of other Conservative MPs on the right following Jenrick into Reform, thinking, right, this is my moment now, it's time to go.
If Reform want him.
Well, this is the point. I mean, did you see, looking at Nigel Farage's face there at that press conference, he looked like a shocked man.
He did.
This has very much surprised him.
Yeah.
And perhaps slightly angered him too, because clearly these conversations were held in the utmost secrecy, the utmost privacy.
Well,
and Nigel Farage used the words, and I quote, "I never betray confidences."
Yes.
This is a party leader who feels like he has been betrayed.
Yes.
He used the word betray, saying, "I would never betray. I would never leak." He thinks this is a leak that has come from Jenrick's side.
Camp. And the thing is that, you know, Tom, we've been in Westminster this week. Everybody's been talking about it. Camilla Tominey, our colleague here, in her column in the Telegraph on Saturday, talked about the rumours about Jenrick being the shadow chancellor for Reform UK.
And
is he going to make his mind up what he's going to be? Well, that's obviously helped force the issue too.
It certainly has, but now I think there is the very real and present question, will Reform now accept Robert Jenrick? I'm not saying it's the most likely option now, but there is a path where Robert Jenrick now sits as an independent MP alongside someone like Rupert Lowe.
The inbox on this programme, when Zahawi defected, Nadim Zahawi, I would say was overwhelmingly against another Tory retread turning up in Reform.
Although I think Nadim Zahawi and Robert Jenrick are different flavours of Conservative.
They are.
And in the long term, there's no doubt in my mind that this is a very good defection for Reform, because not only is he absolutely aligned politically with Reform, some would say he's actually to the right of Reform on some issues, but he's a former cabinet minister, a former immigration minister. He was in the cabinet for most of the years of the last government. He is exactly the kind of experience and competence that Reform so desperately need. And actually, one of the things that's putting people off voting for Reform is their lack of experience at the top of political office.
And this is the thing. Nigel Farage is a brilliant showman. He can get the troops going out there in the country. He's won, not one, but 2 national European elections. He has taken parties from nothing to lead in the polls several times over. I mean, this is an incredible campaigner in Nigel Farage, but is he a man of detail at a dispatch box in the House of Commons? No. I'm thinking back to what Robert Jenrick has done in his time. Whoever knows who the Shadow Justice Secretary is, and yet he's forced U-turn after U-turn, not least on the Sentencing Council.
We're going back to Nigel Farage at this extraordinary press conference, which has been hijacked by Robert Jenrick.
I confirmed that already a couple of times. I have been talking to lots of people. Do you know what? We will welcome anyone that comes to us from whatever party who is going to add to what we do. It doesn't just see us as perhaps a life raft to save a parliamentary career, but people who want to add to what we have to do, who share our values, who share our beliefs, but equally, you have to be honest about the sheer level of failures of 14 years of broken manifesto commitments. So do you know what? I'll give him a ring this afternoon. I'll give him a ring this afternoon.
He ran for leadership.
I might even buy him a pint, you never know.
He was in the shadow cabinet, he was in the shadow cabinet.
Yes.
He'd be a big signing for you, wouldn't he?
I mean, he was part of that Tory failure, but the one big tick against his name is that he did resign as immigration minister because of the failures of the government. So that would be a big tick in his direction. I will speak to him this afternoon and see what he wants to do.
OK, thank you. Lord Offord, I did have a question for you. Sorry, events have rather...
He just signed his resignation. Call him Malcolm.
Lord Offord, I wanted to ask you about a key voter priority here in Scotland, which is the NHS. You've previously said there needs to be a dialogue with the public about the acceptability of user charges for some services and the removal of free prescriptions for certain...
So we're going to talk to Chris Hope, our political editor in Westminster. Chris, this is a bombshell. We use that word occasionally. It really is a bombshell this time. Jenrick sacked.
This one really is. Now, let's repeat there what Nigel Farage said there. I will give him a ring this afternoon and see what he wants to do. Now, this afternoon, Nigel Farage is due to give a press conference in Westminster about cancelled or postponed local elections. That has now moved to the side. This could be a defection press conference this afternoon, live on GB News. Stay tuned. It's going to be a huge day now in politics. This confirms what we've been hearing for a number of months now. Robert Jenrick he's adjacent to where Nigel Farage is politically. He doesn't have any of the anger about reform or Farage. As you heard there, Nigel Farage says that Robert Jenrick resigned over the Rwanda plan when it was being watered down by Rishi Sunak's government. You're seeing now a coming together of the right, possibly, of a senior person on the right who could join Reform, and then, of course, will be a broker if there's going to be some form of merger towards the election, maybe a deal to stand down candidates in certain seats, as happened before 2019, or even more likely after the election when the final numbers are in. But I can't imagine that Robert Jenrick stays homeless for long politically. He will do something soon. He could join today, Andrew. I should also say this statement from Kemi Badenoch is also extraordinary. That, to me, shows how confident she is. This is a statement that Kemi Badenoch, as leader of the Tories, would not have given before the party conference. She feels very strong. She's had basically 10 to 12 weeks of positive coverage after that party conference, when she unveiled 3 big measures that cemented her position in the party. She's axing stamp duty, she's axing the Climate Change Act, and she's going to get us out of the European Convention on Human Rights. She feels stronger. This is the battle, frankly, we've been waiting to have for a number of months now.
Chris, you say that her personal poll ratings have been improving, and that's certainly true. But in the latest Westminster poll released yesterday by More in Common, I think, put Reform back on 31%, the Tories back down in the low 20s. Whatever the personal successes of Kemi Badenoch, it does look increasingly likely that Reform will be the largest party by some way after the next election, and the Conservatives will lose seats compared to their standing now, which all points to the fact that any ambitious Conservative MP, quite frankly, who feels they've got something to offer the country after the next election, is looking at this defection and thinking, I'm going to have to follow Robert Jenrick into Reform.
Well, this could trigger a flood of MPs going from the Tories to Reform. You're absolutely right, Miriam. Kemi Badenoch is doing well on a personal level. Her party on a corporate level is not doing so well. For me, she's staunched the bleeding of support away from the Tories with her leadership since about September time, when I think the worm had turned for her. But it's not a done deal yet. She's had 12 weeks of positive coverage. As you heard there, Nigel Farage was not planning to announce Robert Jenrick coming across to Reform today. That may now happen. This is what is changing in real time, live on GB News, is he made an invitation to Robert Jenrick to come across to his party today. Farage will speak to Jenrick this afternoon. There could be an announcement in short order. We're looking on screen there, photographs of Robert Jenrick with his wife, I think, when he was running for leader against Kemi Badenoch. These are extraordinary times, but in a sense, this is a battle which the right has been spoiling for, I think, in politics for a number of months now.
It's clear what they were determined to do, the Tories, Chris. We don't yet know what how Jenrick, because I think we can assume he wasn't going to defect to Reform, despite what Nigel Farage was saying. He was clearly planning some headline-grabbing stunt gimmick which would have caused maximum embarrassment to the Tories. So what Badenoch has done is blown that well and truly out of the water.
Well, she has. I mean, she's forcing the pace on a conversation which was nowhere near conclusion yet. I mean, you heard there in recent weeks, Nigel Farage says he's spoken to a number of Conservatives. Look, he said that all the time when he was running UKIP, and every single time, roughly 2011 to 2015, I would say to him, when I worked for a different newspaper, I would say, who are you going to sign up? And he would say with a chuckle, I talk to them all the time. That was his standard line. He moved today and said, confirmed he's spoken to Jenrick. He never does that. He now says, under further questioning, he'll phone Jenrick today. Do you want to come across? Quite extraordinary.
Chris, we're going to leave you there for a second because we are going to go back to Nigel Farage in Fife at that press conference, which has been rather hijacked by this news.
English county councils, there aren't many of them. And there is an open debate about this because people can see that the writing is on the wall.
Mr Farage, you've chosen your words very carefully there, saying there wasn't a plot for him to be unveiled this afternoon.
There's no plot.
Have there been talks?
There's no plot.
You say you have had talks with Robert Jenrick.
I've had talks with lots of people.
In the detail of those talks, have you discussed him defecting to reform?
I've discussed him giving us a massive donation. I've discussed running a London Marathon with him. I've discussed whether he thinks it's right that he would join Reform. Would it make sense for him? Wouldn't it? Of course, I've discussed those things with him and many other people.
So there have been talks. You don't dispute that Robert Jenrick has been in talks with you about potentially defecting?
I don't dispute. I've been in talks with lots of people about them joining. What I'm telling you, what I'm telling you, and what I'm telling Kemi, if she's watching, is that there's no deal being signed. Conversations been had. Ideas been kicked around the room. Nothing signed.
Is the door open to Robert Jenrick if he wants to?
Well, as I've said already, I'm going to give him a ring this afternoon. I might buy him a drink and see what he wants to do. As I say, he did resign from the last government on a point of principle, on immigration, and frankly, the Boris wave was one of the biggest breaches of electoral trust we've ever seen in this country, given the 80-seat majority that he got in 2019, which I played some part actually in helping him achieve. And to promise lower numbers and to deliver record numbers, in many cases of people whose indefinite leave to remain comes up in the next 2 years and who will prove to be a huge financial burden on taxpayers for decades to come. The fact that Jenrick resigned over that was the right thing to do. So wait and see.
And a question for the leader formerly known as Lord Offord.
That's very good.
You've been... sure. You've been handpicked for... Yeah. OK. So the mic's been taken away from Lord Offord. But before it is taken away, you were handpicked to be a Lord at the House of Lords. You have been handpicked to be leader of the Reform. The only time you stood for election in Scotland, I think you came 5th. Are you worried about actually facing the Scottish voters?
That's what I'm looking forward to doing, and they will have their vote on the 7th of May.
And they will have their say. Andrew Misra from Channel 4.
Hi, Mr Farage. Just picking up on the news about Mr Jenrick. Are you picking
I don't know how many more permutations of this we've got. But I'll keep trying for you, you know.
Are you picking up any resistance within Reform to all these Tories coming over from one of the so-called establishment parties that you say need to be replaced?
2 points on that. The worries I get from within Reform are, one, will they bring Tory infighting with them? Because we had 4.5 years of psychodrama with that last Conservative government, where they fought each other in public, they fought each other in private. And so if people want to bring that with them, they're not wanted by our membership, they're not wanted by our board, and they're not wanted by me. And that's the first thing I would say. And secondly, you know, we will not be Tory Party 2.0, because we have a completely different set of policies. And people that come have to say they admit that net zero, mass migration, North Sea taxes, and many other things were a terrible mistake. They have to make real mea culpas. And anyway, I'll cheer you all up next week, because I'll have a Labour defection next week, and that'll change the script, won't it? Go on.
Do Reform's immigration crackdowns hurt Scotland?
Is that for me?
Well, it may as well be.
Oh, sorry.
You answer it.
Well, I think what we're seeing in Scotland is that this is now the three issues that are of most importance in local communities.
Tom Harwood's with us. Tom, Kemi Badenoch said she had incontrovertible evidence that he was planning a high-profile defection to Reform. What do you know?
In the last few minutes, I've been speaking to Tory sources who have told me what it was in not terribly specific terms, but in terms specific enough to get an inkling of how Kemi Badenoch was quite so decisive in her, quote, incontrovertible, irrefutable evidence. And that is that the Jenrick team had left some materials, some stuff lying around that itself got back to Kemi's
Not
office.
on the photocopier, surely. That old, not that old one.
I have been trying to get specifics on what the stuff that was left lying around was. I'm not being told specifics at this time.
Presumably in one of the in their shadow cabinet office or outside.
Presumably these are papers that have been left around. I mean, it's unlikely to be a reform lanyard.
Right.
The interesting thing about that, though, Tom, is that although Nigel Farage could accuse Robert Jenrick, or perhaps his staff, of being careless, he can't accuse him of leaking, and therefore there isn't the element of distrust that might have come into this had Robert Jenrick been a bit loose-tongued. And I think that will perhaps make it easier for Farage to accept it without asking too many questions.
I agree with that, because I think that somebody has been loose-tongued, because the speculation about him defecting was enormous this week. Everybody was talking about it.
There is reporting that Kemi Badenoch had dinner with Robert Jenrick in the last few weeks, and that might have led to some of that speculation.
Right.
We're going to go back to Nigel Farage in 5, still answering questions.
Surely what we want are people who have been successful.
Relatable then to working Scots.
It's not, look, you know, Malcolm is not somebody born with vast levels of privilege or anything like that. He's done what he's done because he's got a good brain, he's worked damned hard, and you know what? Rather than being looked down upon, I'd like young Scots to say, do you know what? If he can do it, I can blimmin' well do it. And these are some of the attitudinal changes that are needed right across the United Kingdom. And there are elements of America we can like, elements of America we perhaps don't like. But one thing about America, when they see people who've been successful, they make them into heroes. And here, we try and make them into villains. I believe Malcolm can go and talk in any bar, any public gathering, and speak to people one-on-one, regardless of their background, their class, their nationality, their religion. And if I didn't believe those things, I wouldn't have him as the leader.
You should come campaigning with me. Come see for yourself.
Absolutely. John Boothman, The Times.
Malcolm, you've spoken on Twitter actually about how there was no policies in the Scottish budget to encourage growth. What taxes would you cut, and would you cut welfare programmes like the child payment?
So, we've done, as I said...
Well, that's Nigel Farage. He's intended to announce the Reform leadership in Scotland, Malcolm offered, but it has been hijacked by the news that Robert Jenrick is defecting to Reform, or at least was intending to defect
and
to Reform.
was planning a very high-profile and dramatic announcement. So Mrs Badenoch has moved quickly. She's made a dramatic statement. Zia Youssef, who is the head of policy at Reform, says this, hilarious. Kemi begins the brutal purge of those most likely to challenge her in May, post the electoral wipeout. James Cleverly, he says, he's the shadow housing secretary. Keep your phone on. Last days of Rome. So they're not taking that very seriously. Tom, I mean, this is great news for Reform, but you can sense a deep sense of disappointment that their carefully laid plans with defectors, look, they sprung completely on us. Danny Kruger coming on. I was sitting here in this studio. Who would have thought it? They obviously had a big media announcement, and that's now in tatters.
There has been a steady drumbeat of Reform media events week after week leading up to the local elections. There is clearly an organised plan to create big media noise and divert attention towards the Reform Party. It wasn't widely reported, but just earlier this week they reported lots of different local councillor defections, including one Green councillor who defected to the Reform Party. And it's worth picking up on Danny Kruger, because Danny Kruger, the former Conservative Member of Parliament, now Reform, was the campaign manager for Robert Jenrick in his leadership contest back last year.
He would have been crucial.
He will have been a crucial interlocutor between Robert Jenrick and the Reform Party. This dinner that we now understand happened between Robert Jenrick and Nigel Farage last month, and indeed, it may well bode upon the Conservative leadership to look at other people in senior Team Jenrick.
Do you think, though, there will be the sense within the Conservative Party now that the game is up? I mean, keeping Jenrick on side was the one thing that was keeping the Tory party afloat. It reminds me a little bit of when Michael Gove removed his backing from Boris Johnson in the day or two before he fell from office in 2021. That was the final straw. A party that can keep Michael Gove, who is a big player, alongside another big player, Boris Johnson, was one that still had some legs. If Robert Jenrick can no longer be in the Conservative Party, the game is up.
That is one interpretation, but I would say that I've spoken to a lot of opinion pollsters about this stuff. I was speaking to one particular one at Conservative Party conference this year who presented data to me that I was fairly shocked by, which was Robert Jenrick's name recognition outside of those who are very interested in politics, follow politics very, very closely. It's not particularly high.
I agree.
People being able to pick Robert Jenrick out of a lineup,
I agree with that.
very, very low single digits. Whereas you talk about people like Keir Starmer, Nigel Farage, the two most recognisable politicians in the country, Kemi Badenoch slightly below.
Facial recognition is slightly different to name recognition.
Yes.
And obviously Robert Jenrick fits a mould of a white middle-aged politician. It's not particularly surprising that his face is not recognisable.
Well, but also the name. But also the name. But I think this is where we can get incredibly introspective and a bit too Westminster bubble. Because people that read newspapers every day, people that live and breathe politics, people that are following the news very acutely, of course know who he is. But that is actually not a particularly high proportion of the country.
I agree. And also it's because people have switched off by politics generally, Tom, actually. We're going back, I think, to...
We're going to get a reminder of what the Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, had to say when she found out this news.
In this video she filmed.
This morning, I removed the Conservative whip from Robert Jenrick after dismissing him from the shadow cabinet. I was very sorry to be presented with clear, irrefutable evidence, not just that he was preparing to defect, but he was planning to do so in the most damaging way possible to the Conservative Party and his shadow cabinet colleagues.
Her most probably high-profile, effective frontbencher, although with what Tom Harwood was saying, pollsters will tell you most people in the real world, which isn't the world we live in, Miriam, have never heard of him. But then a lot of them have never heard of Kemi Badenoch. We're going to talk now to Reform UK Jack Anderton. Jack Anderton, this is a coup, but it's a coup that's gone slightly skew-whipped because clearly they were planning a big media announcement and Badenoch's blown that out of the water.
Well, I can't speak for Jenrick or Reform's plans of what people were intending to do. I think, Nigel's been very clear today at the press conference that obviously he's been talking to Nigel, he's been talking to Jenrick, he's had conversations with Jenrick, but there was nothing sort of signed, sealed and delivered.
You're not worried that the Reform Party is just a repository for failed Tory MPs, a lot of them 21 ex-MPs who lost their seat, Robert Jenrick, who failed to be Tory leader?
It's a completely valid concern, and it's a concern that's been raised by members and members of the public as well. But what I would say is you've seen this week that we've actually announced a spate of council defections, and that was from a broad spectrum of parties. That was from the Tories, yes, but also Labour and the Greens as well. Nigel obviously said at the press conference we're announcing a Labour defector next week. So it's definitely a valid concern, but I think unfounded.
Jenrick is a big fish. He has significant cabinet experience. He's a renowned political operator. He's a former lawyer. He's one of the best performers in the House of Commons, many people would say. Do you think that the criticisms of Nigel Farage that have been made in the past, that he's a one-man band, that he doesn't want anybody to compete with his leadership of the party, do you think those criticisms are no longer fair if he lets in big players like Robert Jenrick, as well, of course, as Danny Kruger and people like that?
Well, they've never been fair. One thing about Nigel is he values loyalty, and that is something actually that has been sorely lacking in British politics for the last couple of years.
Well, he's just recruiting a man who's not been very loyal at all to the Tory party.
Again, I can't...
Danny Kruger, who's not been very loyal to the people who worked very hard to get him elected as a Conservative MP.
I'm not sure that's true, actually.
Well,
I think if you listen back to Danny's speech at the time, it was a big decision that he made, and I think it weighed heavily on him, and I'm sure it would be the same for Jenrick as well. But Nigel values loyalty, and you can see that the people in our party that have joined so far, people like Zia, people like Layla, and the wider MPs, we're an incredibly loyal team and loyal to Nigel, and that's why the party has been able to have the success that it's been able to.
Certainly loyalty to leadership is important in any organisation, but You could argue that actually loyalty to a particular philosophical vision or philosophy or outlook is actually more important. And what's gone wrong with the Conservative Party in recent decades is that people have been loyal to a leader, perhaps, but not to a cause, and have flip-flopped on all sorts of issues, done all sorts of things that most Conservative voters didn't want. And actually, people like Jenrick and potentially others are following a philosophically sound line, even if they're switching leaders.
I think that's probably right. You know, a lot of the Tories that have defected to reform are of our political persuasion, which is we believe that mass immigration was wrong, that net zero was wrong, that actually Britain has a brighter future if it's outside of the two-party control that has been operated for the past
I think what unites most
decades.
is they've lost their seat.
Well, not true for Danny Kruger.
Yeah, but most of them, I said.
Yeah.
Most of them had lost their seat. What now? I mean, Nigel's hedging his bets. There'll be a press conference this afternoon. He's got a press conference this afternoon anyway. Yeah. Should he just get on and bring out his latest recruit, the most high-profile by far?
Well, that's not for me to say. Nigel's the leader of the party, so that's ultimately his decision, but I'm sure he will be having many conversations this afternoon.
Yeah, no sign of Robert Jenrick, by the way,
He's
Tom,
who's
normally omnipresent on the media.
He has not he's not said a word. There has been some reporting by colleagues in the lobby in Parliament who say that there was a phone call from Team Kemi to Robert Jenrick this morning where the allegations were put to him and he slammed the phone down. Right. Is the words that I've read. It's worth also noting that Robert Jenrick and Nigel Farage haven't always been on the best terms. No. As recently as 5 months ago, Nigel Farage tweeted this: "Jenrick is a fraud. I've always thought so, and this quote proves it," attaching a quote about asylum hotels back when he was immigration minister in 2022.
Yeah, so...
Tom, this will also be a personal blow to Kemi Badenoch. I mean, it can't have been easy having Jenrick in her shadow cabinet after she beat him in the leadership election. He obviously still had ambition. He was commenting on lots of issues that were slightly outside of his brief. He's got huge social media following. Some of his videos have had millions of views and made a big impact. But she has managed to keep him in the tent. Yep. She defended him at party conference when he made some comments about the racial identity of people that he'd seen in Birmingham. She's taken some big risks to keep him in the team. This will be a personal blow as well as a political one.
It certainly will. Every party is a coalition. Every party is a tent to some extent. And Robert Jenrick actually had a quote at the leadership election last year that he believed in the Conservative Party being a broad church, but there had to be a common creed. And perhaps there will be debate over whether it's a policy difference or whether it's a personality difference or ambition difference that perhaps has led to this. One of the big important things, though, is that Robert Jenrick moving to reform, if indeed he is accepted into reform, and this might move very, very quickly throughout this afternoon, but Robert Jenrick moving to reform, if that does happen, is not about one man moving to reform. Yeah. It is about what that represents and what that might lead to. Robert Jenrick has supporters within the Conservative Party, both the parliamentary party, at the staffing levels, but also, of course, councillors as well. Could the big, most damaging way possible that Kemi Badenoch was talking about have been something to do with the launch of the local election campaign, bringing out Robert Jenrick in a big bang that would have dominated news headlines and set rocket boosters underneath the Reform Party's election campaign? It is worth noting that the opinion polls since Christmas have seen a slight decrease for the Reform vote. Yeah. And perhaps in response to this, we have seen bigger media events from Reform. The bombshell defection of Nadeem Zahawi, the councillors that have come across, the announcement of Layla Cunningham as the mayoral candidate for London 2 years before the London mayoral election, the launch of the London election campaign. There was a big event in the Excel Centre last week that Reform put on for that. Clearly, activity is picking up, and perhaps plans that the party had for later down the line, they might be wanting to expedite those plans in order to try and reverse a slight trend that we've begun to see in the polls.
I'm told as well that his price will be, you'll be the Shadow Chancellor in a reform front bench.
That was his price.
Yes.
And yet, now what leverage does he have?
He hasn't got the leverage he had before.
Camilla Tominey, our colleague, in a brilliant piece over the weekend for The Telegraph, was writing, Robert Jenrick wants to be Reform's Shadow Chancellor. One of the big criticisms that Reform often comes under is, yes, you have a very strong, enigmatic party leader, but who is the Shadow Foreign Secretary? Who is the Shadow Chancellor? Who's the Shadow Home Secretary? Now they've got a leader in Scotland, but I mean, we're only months away from the elections in Scotland. They don't yet have a leader in Wales, and there are, by some estimates, Reform want to be being the First Minister of Wales. Well, who would that be? There are big questions to ask here, and Jenrick had leverage, past tense. Jenrick now has no leverage.
Well,
he could just be a rank-and-file Reform MP by the end of today.
I doubt that very much. Certainly, this is a bump in the road. This is not how the defection was supposed to happen, and there'll be questions to answer, and perhaps there'll be some damaged relationships. That's absolutely true. But I think in the long term, this will make not a jot of difference. Robert Jenrick is a fearsome operator. He is one of the hardest working people in the shadow cabinet. Reform would be crazy to pass up the opportunity to have somebody like him on board. And also, Farage has said he wants to destroy the Conservatives. This will, or
Miriam,
could destroy the Conservatives.
I am not quibbling with your argument there. What I am saying is that before this morning, Robert Jenrick could say, I will only come across him if you give me a title, right? Whereas now, he's going to have to come across, right? He's either an independent MP or a Reform MP. Exactly.
He's lost it. Surprise is such an important factor in politics, and they've lost that. But it's a huge coup for them. But Kemi Badenoch will be hoping that her decisive intervention stops the trickle turning into a flood, because a flood could be very damaging and on her.
Well, and there are lots of people in Team Jenrick. Look at the Conservative MPs who are closest to Jenrick. Watch what they're saying. Watch what they're doing in the coming hours.
Well, I imagine they will be trying to find somewhere very secret to meet, because they have to move as a pack now, and I think it's now or never for some of them.
And it's Thursday, so most of them have left Westminster already, come back to their constituencies. But telephones, emails, tweets. I imagine that WhatsApp groups.
Now is the moment for Keir Starmer to start bugging WhatsApp.
Yeah, Keir Starmer will probably do something really stupid now, because that's what he's
got
a great gift for. But this puts the Tories very much back on the rack.
It does. And you were saying, Tom, about some of the polling for Reform being slightly less favourable, although there was a more in common poll out yesterday. It put them back on 31. And it seems to be when Reform are in the news, Reform pick up votes, and this will certainly put them back in the news.
I think there's another calculation here that Robert Jenrick might have made, and that is one of the big topics that we're talking about now. Reform does well when immigration is high in salience. It's the winter. There are no small boats coming across. Well. There's lots of international news. There's been a budget which the Conservatives are traditionally more favourable towards. When the boats start coming, when the weather gets warmer, does Reform kick back up again?
That's right.
Thank you, Tom.
We're going to go back to Chris Hope, our political editor in Westminster, to give us the latest. Chris, tell us more on this extraordinary breaking news story.
Extraordinary stories. We can reveal on GBNews that Robert Jenrick was sacked this morning by the Shadow Chief Whip, Rebecca Smith. Kemi Badenoch has not spoken to Robert Jenrick at all today. That phone call, initially Robert Jenrick denied that he was planning to jump to Reform UK, according to Tory sources. He then slammed the phone down on the Deputy Chief Whip, and that was the end of that. And then, of course, the statement emerged from Kemi Badenoch. They're very clear here, according to the party, they found overwhelming evidence that Robert Jenrick was set to defect to Reform UK to cause maximum damage to the party. We heard from Kemi Badenoch. She is, we are told, fed up with these people trying to undermine her leadership, want to make trouble, and she's taken firm action to deal with that. It is quite an extraordinary moment here. It is seen, I think, within the party as a moment for Kemi Badenoch to exert her authority over the party. She was weak all last year going to the party conference. She certainly had a good party conference. Strong policies came out on some key areas like ECHR, climate change being ripped up, and also withdrawing from ECHR, and also axing stamp duty. And that's why she felt ability to act. There was a dinner last month between Robert Jenrick and Nigel Farage. That's part of it. We've heard from Nigel Farage already in the last half an hour. He says he will now speak to that man on screen, Robert Jenrick, and ask him do you want to join my party? Nigel Farage later today, mid-afternoon, will give a press conference in London when we may see Robert Jenrick emerge on stage as the new signing. The risk for Kemi Badenoch is who might go to. There's a real moment here. It's this coming together of the right we've long forecast is now being brought to a head by Kemi Badenoch. It's not where Nigel Farage thought they would be. He's in Scotland now to unveil his new Scottish leader, Malcolm Offord. Instead, he's fielding questions about these two key figures coming together from the right. Let's not forget, Nigel Farage attacked Robert Jenrick as recently as last August over immigration. He's now, today, giving praise to Robert Jenrick for resigning over the Rwanda plan when it's watered down by Rishi Sunak. Extraordinary times here. This is the long-awaited coming together of the right being forced by the Tory leader. The next question, frankly, is what will Robert Jenrick do and what will Nigel Farage do? Stay tuned for an extraordinary day on GB News.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's now 12 o'clock on Thursday, the 15th of January. I'm Tom Harwood.
And I'm